And I think we're live. In fact, I am sure we are live. Let me just check the watch page. Let's just have a quick see. It would appear that we are, yes. Indeed, we are live. Well, hello Adam, hello Chemo. How are both of you this evening?
Good evening, Ranty. Good evening, Adam.
Evening, guys. I'm very well. Hope you two are.
Thank you. Not too bad. Had a great week on the Global tour. Hope you guys have been watching.
Yeah, tell us more. Tell us more.
I saw.
I went to Liverpool with Anthony first time. We did a bit of street activism there. I'm sure everyone's seen that with the science girl and the guy that she was with. And then popped up to Cardiff and spent the afternoon with Mark, Martin, Dave, Jason, of course, his wife, of course, and we just spent the day speaking to the public about the shape of the air. Yeah.
Anything else? Anything else?
Well, no, it was just very busy, but very hectic. Oh, I went to Brian Cox as well, actually. Yeah, with Jem Panda. Me and Jem went there. Very interested, actually, because the entire time I was there, I was just saying, "Oh, do you believe this stuff? There's no demonstrations. There's nothing practical here of any kind." But he was like, "Well, look, would they spend, so much money on this production and all of this if it were, not real?" And I was kind of like, well, yes. And but if you're a ball earther, they would have really enjoyed. But Jem actually said he didn't.
Where did you go, Spurs?
So I went to see Brian Cox on.
Wow, massive thanks to Sam Hayne for smashing the super chat. $33. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam.
No, yeah. Yeah. So he had like a tour. He has goes around the different cities and has a speech. Yeah. So I went to that because with the idea was to go there. I thought there would be a Q&A towards the end where you could ask them questions directly. That was my impression. And so when I got there, I asked, what's the format? And she, the lady was like, well, you send questions to Twitter and then we'll read them out. And then obviously he'll read them and then he'll answer them, things like that. So I just thought, oh, there's no point in that. So, but yeah, I mean, the idea was just to try to get him to speak about, gas pressure next to a vacuum, gas pressure without a container. But no, unfortunately, no. But like I say, he gave. What I would say is that he gave the best ball earther explanation for, their side of the argument. Gravity, black holes, singularity, warping of space time, Einstein's theories, and it is one of the best explanations I've heard. So the ball earthers are definitely not up to date with their own argument.
Was he Newtonian or Einsteinian then?
Einsteinian all the way. Yeah, he explained it.
And another massive shout out to Cleary for the super chat as well. I'm not Sam Hain, but you can think of me as Sam Hain.
Like I said, one of the best explanations that I've heard. But yeah, there's no demonstration at the end of it though. That's a thing. So for all of it,
Nathan Oakley, £1.99, smash the super chat, people. Thank you, Nathan.
So, but it was interesting. What I think would be good is for flat earthers to go there, look at what he's saying, record it, and then, kind of attack it maybe that way.
So who's this guy? Remind us again. Who did you go to see?
So I went to see Brian Cox. He had a live tour. So I went to see him. He was just talking about, space and time, Einstein, He says gravity's a force and things like this, introducing all that things and stuff. But yeah, it was quite interesting for what it was. Like I say, they had a huge screen, one of the biggest screens I've ever seen, and just demonstrate. Well, not demonstrate. They would just show it on the screen. You know, the universe and galaxies and black holes and the Earth and all these kind of things. And yeah, just trying to show people this is where we live and the possibility of life in other galaxies and things like that. So. Yeah,
sounds like a great bit of theatre.
It was. That's what I said. For me, it was like watching a movie, and it was like that. It was like watching a movie. It was very fantastical. But the audience were absolutely in awe.
Wow, thank you, Lumberjack,
every
for
word
the 1999 super chat. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they would never. I mean, I was thinking, if I were to ask, you stand up and ask a question. If I brought up flat Earth, the response would just be. Hysteria in there of some kind. So I think I must have been the only flat earther in there, or globe denier, in there. And but yeah, I thought it was interesting because like I say, I've never. He gave the best ball earther explanation. Not that it was true of any kind, but in terms of explaining how things are supposed to work. I suppose that's what he gets paid for. But yeah.
A bit like feeling like you're going in the away end.
Yes, absolutely, definitely, that's what it was like. Everybody there was globe believing and applauding and bravo and really lapping up what he was saying. So
I thought you was going to stand up and ask a question to him. I thought you were going to.
Yeah, there was no opportunity because, like I said, it was blacked out. I would have just seen crazy just standing up. You just heard a voice, something like this. And, he had loudspeakers. There was no opportunity really, unless I just climbed on the stage. And but yeah,
you should have done it.
Yeah,
front page news.
Yeah, yeah. No, but yeah. I wanted him to respond, but no. Yeah. But no, I mean we've got the conference this week. Got European Globe Tours. It's all go for flat Earth. It's exciting.
I was just thanking Nathan again for smashing the super chat.
Oh yeah, why not? Yeah. Good.
I think people like having you two in.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad he enjoys the content and all that stuff. We could have done with Nathan actually down there. We were discussing this because obviously a lot of what I was saying, I was letting them get away with begging up the question. I was letting them presuppose, a lot of this and that and this kind of thing. But it would have been great to see Nathan down there. I think it would have been more successful in terms of. Stopping people's presupposing questions because they were constantly presupposing things. But yeah, I mean, Nathan's definitely missed out there. Anthony's definitely missed out there. Well, you guys are going to be doing it soon, so you guys will do your bit. But it definitely needs more flat earthers out there because they come in crowds, in droves. So. You just like online, you get one person saying one thing, then another person will jump in and say another thing, and you kind of have to do a live mute where you have to just direct it on one person and just hold on, I'll get to your question or something like this, and it's exciting. So I think you guys are really.
Sorry, I was going to say we've got to do it, haven't we? Me and Ranty. Ranty's handing the bus over to me, but how's your Croatian, Ranty?
Well, I'm Croatian.
I said,
how is it? How is your Croatian? How is your foreign language?
It's excellent.
That's what I mean. You guys, I'm wondering how you guys. I mean, this is very interesting. How will you guys do it? I mean, people will come up. Do you suppose they will speak English? Do you think they will just nod and shake? What do you guys expect?
I do actually. I do. I think that you know, the Europeans, a lot of them speak very good English. You know, I mean, they talk more English than they are their own language.
Right.
So, you know, I have every faith that I'll go there and I'll run into quite a lot of people that speak English. So.
Yeah.
What about you, Adam? I mean, you've just come back from Italy, haven't you? So, tell us what it's like over there.
Oh, I mean, I was touting it a bit. You know, when you're chatting with people in the bars and stuff, so I was doing a bit of flat smacking over there. In Google Translate is the thing that, because like, I mean, I can order a table for 4 and a pizza, but explaining the nonsensical nature of gravity is way beyond me in Italian. You know what I mean? So
Rampage Vantage and second best Bob. Thanks for the super chats again. Thank you.
So you can. Being civil's fine, but like I said, I was doing a little bit of flat smacking with one of the restaurant owners. We were chatting, and Google translates the thing. I found you say it to a function of 2 languages. You press a button, one of you speaks, it comes out, it translates it, the other person speaks. So, in circumstances, that's kind of what I'm.
So you're going to be using the old Google Translate. I mean, that's if that, you know, that's technology, right? That should be. Do you think it would be you like? Will you get a conversation out of it? Do you think, or it would be very basic?
I'm more hoping, like what Randy says, that those that come up will have at least better, you know, a bit of pidgin English. I suppose more hopefully that there'll be some local flat earthers that maybe come and support us, so that those that don't speak English have somebody to have the ideas communicated with. But I think there's the local leaflets as well in there, Randy. Just little.
Are they in the language of each country?
Yeah.
Or are they going to be in English?
I heard Nora's doing the Italian version, so I'm still to get a shout from her, see what she's sending. But yeah, I think they're more to help as well. So
yeah. Yeah, just trying to look at what kind of issues, you know, you guys might face, because it is hectic, especially if you get a big crowd surrounding you, and everybody wants to ask questions. So you'll start with a set of people, you know, beginning of the day, and then you'll still see them throughout the entire day trying to ask you more questions. You're trying to move on. You're trying to move on to other people, and but yeah, it's exciting. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Especially in the sun, it'd be nice and warm where you're at, right?
Did it in Nottingham last year, and that was fun. In the Market Square, so there were plenty of people there. A couple of, like you say, couple of trolls, people that.
What would be your tactic? Because you know, like, so Jason kind of, you know, he doesn't really get into a debate. He just like plants seeds. So do you think you'll be getting into? I mean, let's say their English is good. Let's say they're a student. You know, their English is, you know, very good, high level, where they know their stuff, right? Will you get into a debate? Will you engage, or do you think you'll just plant the seed and tell them to move on?
Horses for courses, isn't it? Not really. Depends on the. But you can tell if. I'm always more open, Spurs. I don't like if you can tell that somebody's actually genuinely engaging with you, then I'm more likely to be more explanatory and open and honest in the conversation. And if I know somebody's just being antagonistic and they're there having prepped for days, a bit like what Anthony faced with, you know, with the PhD students, that's quite a clear an engagement. And I'd probably, to be honest with you, I was saying to Randy earlier, I've got no desire to argue with people. Do you know what I mean, about what one thinks and the other, and to try and prove that's of no interest to me. But I'm more than happy to engage in, if they're interested in the field and want to know stuff, then yeah, I'm more than happy to.
What about you, Randy? Yeah. Will you engage? I mean, because you've debated, obviously. You can go back and forth. You've done it. What will your technique or style or method be out there?
I guess it's going to have to be visual, isn't it? You know, I think, you know, because most of my stuff is visual, so I'll just go with that for the main part, you know. And I say we see too far, you know, and that's just a simple fact of the matter. We do, you know. If I've never experienced anything being loomed up from beyond the curve, so the idea that actually happens, it's ridiculous. You might be able to get a stray beam of light, or you watch a laser be manipulated and turned, but to say that some ambient light in the distance, like a building or a lighthouse or something, is being loomed up with trees, that doesn't happen. You just get, all that happens is you get a bit of warping and stretching just at the horizon. It's just a little bit of stretch, warp, stretch, squash. That's all it is. You don't actually see things move from their relative positions. Massive shout out to Del West Watson again. Yes, Ranty, hello, good evening. Thank you very much for the super chat. So yeah, I mean, I'll be using visuals, you know. I think it'll be the easiest way. And to be fair, if it's in, you know, you got places like Poland and stuff, great English speaking countries, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I dated a girl once from I can't remember what it is now. Austria. And I dated a girl from Austria, and she spoke excellent English. You know, excellent English. Right. So
I think it'll be well received out there. I think it'll be a lot different to England, and I think there'll be less confrontational. I don't know. I get that feeling that they'll be more open to this idea.
Well, it'll be interesting to find out exactly what they know, you know. I mean, you might go to these places and they might be really hostile. I heard that they had a bit of a tough do up in Scotland when the Globe Live Tour went up there. But then, you know, if you go to a different place, it could be that they quite well know that the Earth is flat, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting because you go into the unknown, and you just don't know what people will say. You don't know who you will approach. You might get caught out. You might not. It just, you know. So who's going to be doing the streaming? Who's taking care of that? Are you live streaming it, or?
Oh yes, I'll be doing it. Yeah, I'll be live streaming for sure.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I'll be doing the same. Are you just doing it on your channel? Because I'm just planning to do it like I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to live stream it on my channel, probably.
So how are you going to? Are you going to? So I mean, are you going to buy a SIM card, or how will that work? The internet? How will you? What have you thought about that already?
No, it costs what it costs, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Just is what it is. I'll just have to speak to the network and ask them how much they're going to charge me for doing that. But
okay.
You know, it can't be that expensive.
No, I don't think it's. I think they've probably got a better internet. They've got more open, depending on where you go as well. You go into the capitals, right? Obviously.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you going, Ranty? What cities?
Sorry, say again.
What
I just
cities?
flashed something up that I didn't want to flash up. Don't bother, guys. Carry on.
I'm saying, what cities are you visiting? I've got Venice, San Marino.
Should we bring it all? Should we bring up the so we know where everybody's gone? How do we find that again?
Actually, is it FE?
Is it FE? It's not FE convention, is it? No, that's somebody else. Globe Live.
Yeah, try that.
Globe Live. I think let's see where we get everybody up. They should have. Oh no, that's not up. I'll have a look now. Or can you actually have a look? Because if I move my Skype window, it just leaves a blank screen that we're looking at. So.
Yeah, a second.
Yeah, just have a look, and we can sort of like say who's going to be where. Because I know Paul on the plane's doing a bit as well. Mark Sargent is. I think Tony's going to come over as well. Or at least I hope he is.
It's definitely needed. It needs. The people are prepared for this. I mean, online we've been going back and forth. We've heard all the arguments, and I think everybody's ready. At least the people that have been engaging in this for a long time now.
Have you heard the gossip about Mr. Chesick? I was just informed by Adam before. He put a video out saying that essentially he's giving up his channel.
Well, that's a shame. I met Mr. Cheswick. He's a good guy.
I think it's out of that, Spurs, that it's happened. He's gone up, talked to you guys, and all the people that support him in his videos with these accusations against other people have now turned on, called him another common purpose spy or something.
He said he was doing it at a light-hearted. He wasn't trying to do, cause offence. He was just saying what he saw. But yeah, people do come into this emotional. Everyone is suspicious of everybody when you come into, because we have a conspiracy mind anyway. So I think people are just trying to get familiar with everybody and more comfortable. I think, yeah, it's a shame that he stepped out now. We got Arwijn. Arwijn's on the call. Is that Arwijn there?
He should be on the call, but apparently he's had too much to drink. So,
Okay.
He said, right, Spurs. He said, texted me. He said, I accidentally got drunk. I'm not.
Yes, he tripped, fell, and the vodka went down his throat.
Right, here's my dates, Randy. So I'm picking up in Venice on the 1st of November, and it's San Marino, Rome, Pisa, and then Milan, and that's when I finish. And you're before me. Do you start in Montenegro or Albania or Greece?
Albania.
So it's Tirana in Albania. Then you get a day off straight away. What's all that about? Day off straight away.
Look at the draw, mate. Look at the draw. What can I say?
Then it's off to Montenegro, to Podgorica or something. Then Bosnia to Sarajevo, Zagreb in Croatia, Ljubljana in Slovenia. Excuse my pronunciations on any of those. And then Venice.
Right. And I also believe you've got a bit of gossip that you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about it now, or are you saving that up for a little bit?
Well, I wanted to do a little bit of pimping for the weekend.
Okay.
But as you've done it, I may as well do it, haven't we? So I was talking to Robin, and we'll probably get to the detail of the stuff, but through some connections, he's managed to get hold of a private message. Let me just try and... I don't need to share screens, I just need to share sounds, I think, Randy, because it's in Skype, this message. Just do that, and then go to... So if I play it, just see what you think. So it's a message for the weekend.
Hello, everyone at the Globe Lie UK convention. It's President Donald Trump. So I've been knowing about Flat Earth for a long time, and it's about time we disclose it, right? We're going to disclose it, and it's going to be tremendous. And I take credit for making the Earth flat again, okay? If it wasn't for Donald Trump, the Earth would still be a spinning ball. You got some tremendous speakers here at the Globe Lie convention, including the great Dave Murphy, Mark Sargent, Roxanne, and of course, Paul on the plane. It's going to be a terrific, tremendous conference, and believe me, we're going to make the Earth flat again. Okay, it's going to be tremendous, big league, and fantastic, and I am the reason why we're going to make the Earth flat. Nobody knows more about Flat Earth than me.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
That is really good.
Tell you that Paul on the plane, he's a one connected bloke, isn't he?
Indeed. Wow. Funny stuff.
So that's just maybe a bit of pimping. So yeah, I'm going to be there, mate, over the weekend. We were saying you're down Saturday, aren't you? But I'm hopefully going to be doing lots of little bits of live streaming. In fact, I'll forward the icon. I thought I'd try and have a little icon for it when I'm going to cook, because I'm just going to be popping up random and live streaming, and depends what I'm doing. But I'll send it to you, Randy, so hopefully you can share it.
What's that? Sorry, you're going to send me what? Sorry.
Just a little thumbnail that will come up while we're live streaming over the weekend, just to keep an eye on. So it's going to be on the IML Media channel, but hopefully I'll be out and about and sniffing around, just seeing what's going off.
Have you thought about the time schedule? You know, like Jason starts from 1 o'clock, finishes around 5. I kind of thought it would have been, obviously he's driving a lot, so I thought if he could start, earlier it would be, because it needs more time. But have you guys thought about the time when you'll start? Will you have an early start, an afternoon start, or anything like that?
Are we back on the tour? Talking about the tour?
Yeah, just what time you'll be starting your stream, and have you thought about that, or?
It depends on the logistics, doesn't it? It's what I plan to do. I don't know about you, Ronnie. I plan to have a little look beforehand and see where the hell I'm going to camp up. Hopefully, as the tour gets going a bit, it might be a bit more forward planning. I'm not too privy to too much.
There's so much to think about. There's so much to prepare for. You've got to think about where you're going to park. You've got to obviously park in a safe place, away from eyes and your location. You have to reveal at kind of the last minute and things like this. And I don't know. You have to really be on point to make sure that things run smoothly. You have to set up the banners. So again, depending on what time you want to do this, you have to find a spot, whether it's busy, so you're seen. All of these things.
Yeah, and you have to respect the cultures as well, because there'll be certain things you want to do that you could get away with in England, but you might not be able to get away with there. So
yeah, because we had there were problems with the council twice. Flyers, they said you can't hand out without a permit, and then in Cardiff they came over and said you can't have the banners. It's private property, something like this. So, but we were packing up anyway, so that wasn't too bad. But yeah, you might have issues of you can't do this, what's going on, and I'm just thinking how are you going to react? Stuff like that.
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see on the day.
Yeah.
You can't predict what's going to happen, really. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But I was just thinking more of the time. Would it be a morning start, do you think, or will you be going all day? Would it be similar to Jason's, or?
I think Jason's timescale is born out of practicality. They get somewhere late at night, pitch up, head off to the place that do their activism, then get back. They've got to eat and stuff. Then they've got to drive as best they can to get to the next place. So it's the time you're actually out with the banners will be dictated to basically the driving schedule as best you can, can't you? So
yeah.
God knows where you're going to park that van in Venice. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's got like boat capabilities, has it? So God knows what we're going to do there.
Well, I wish you good luck. All the best and all that. Like I say, you've got to get a lot right. Otherwise, it can just go drastically wrong. So luckily, Jason's hasn't had any hiccups. He's had pretty plain sailing. Not as much drama as the ball earthers would like to see. It's been successful, I think. Seeds have been planted, people have questioned. It was interesting because as we were leaving the pub, so when we packed up, we were leaving the pub, there were people still talking about it. 4 or 5 people just discussing it like it was normal. So it was great to see, and that's what you want, just people talking about it in general. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
right, can I finish my hint of the?
Of course you can.
Bench?
Of course you can. Yeah.
There's a couple of bit. Obviously, tickets. I think there's about 150 going booked now for the weekend, so that looks quite promising. A couple of just mentions from Robin. So those that are coming, let me just screenshot. Yeah, so obviously Mark Sargent's going to be there. Mark Devlin, looking forward to that. Martin, hopefully, is going to be there as well. Along with obviously all the Flat Earth names that's happening. There's a couple of things that Robin was saying. There's apparently going to be 2 documentary filmmakers rocking up. One who wants to talk to younger people, and another one that's got a big £500,000 budget and wants to send people to Antarctica, it says.
I'd be really sceptical about that.
Yeah, I think that's...
About what, Ranty? About sending people or the person?
Just that there's going to be two people there, 2 documentary, I mean, you've seen what these guys do every time they turn up to one of these things.
Yeah, I'm not wearing my tinfoil hat that weekend.
We should buy some tinfoil hats and just hand them out.
Apparently there's a psychology lecturer from Wolverhampton Uni is attending, so it'll be interesting. He's a baller. So
what day is that on? Friday, Saturday?
It doesn't say what day, so I would imagine the Saturday, to be honest. And most interesting, the Current Bun's turning up. So the Sun newspaper. So
really,
yeah.
Wow.
If you want to be careful there.
The Sun's coming to where?
The Sun newspaper apparently will be sending somebody to the convention.
Which convention?
At the weekend.
Kidderminster.
Right. Okay.
So yeah,
should be interesting.
But yeah, so looking forward to that, and see you for.
It'll be something like Globe Earthers meet again. Refusing to accept the narrative that people have been, and then they'll show an astronaut or the globe or something in the paper.
They should send the Sun reporter over to the convention in Holland, in Amsterdam, where Arwyn's going to go, because he's always topless. Page 3.
Yeah.
Oh, funny stuff. He's not here.
But yeah, they
can't
obviously won't go there and report, what we're actually discussing. They'll look for the humorous side, I suppose.
Speaking of that, though, have you seen Mark Sargent's commercial?
Yes, I've seen it. Some people don't understand it, but for me, Flat Earth needs to be put out there by any means necessary.
I agree. I don't see it as okay. I don't know whether he knew what he was getting into and how it was going to turn out, but ultimately they mentioned his name. They actually gave his name and told him he was a flat earther. So regardless of what people say, if it sends another 1,000 people to look at his channel, it's probably another 1,000 people that are going to be interested in flat earth. That's the way I see it.
Oh, fair play. I hope he didn't shit loads of money out of it as well.
Well, I mean, that comes with the territory when you. But the idea is the message. That's the most important thing. Is getting it out there. Like I said, when I was at that Brian Cox thing, it kind of showed me that it's going to be very difficult to convince the masses that they've been lied to, because they were almost hypnotized by what he was saying, in complete awe, and it's just getting people to recognize, or just to even look into it. I think to look into it. So. I mean, when I met him, he was a very down-to-earth guy. He's just as normal as anyone. So I don't think, like I said, I don't think there's a bad decision when it comes to Flat Earth. Flat Earth is meant to be bad already. How bad can it get? Right? What can anyone do to make Flat Earth look bad already? Or even more, so to speak?
Well, I think at this point it's like any publicity, just it's publicity. It's got to be good publicity. If you've got like these, it's a betting company, isn't it? That's going to be putting these commercials out, and they're going to be putting you imagine they've invested quite a lot of money in them. So these things are going to get played over and over for months. So it's definitely going to, send more people looking into flat Earth. And people will realise that Mark isn't, there to be ridiculed. They just ridicule because that's what they do,
It's quite ironic that it's a betting company. Okay, so if somebody was to use their brains now, they would use that betting company to say, well, okay, so it's not flat, let's have a bet. Now, I don't think this was done by accident, and it's all about the clues, and if you can look at this as a clue and put, it's a betting company talking about flat Earth, that's supposed to be ridiculous. So would they take this bet that the Earth is not a globe or flat or like this? So I think
I think for now a bit like what Randy's saying. For now, we kind of have to accept any kind of, and it's obviously going to be ridicule, that's a given, but any kind of exposure in the mainstream that is starting to actually plant the term flat Earth within the group psyche is all that really matters for now. Yeah, it's going to be having the piss taken out of you, but so what? If it's hitting the mainstream, like you say, it's going to encourage people to start to look, and eventually, as Gandhi said, they'll stop taking the piss. You know what I mean? And the stage moves on. But for now, it's sufficient that you can actually get that wording out into the mainstream. I think is quite significant.
Yeah, I mean, again, but for me, it's very clever. People see the opposite. Oh, it's like a damage, and I see it differently. Any advert could have been used. Cars, coffee, toothpaste, whatever. But this was a betting product company. So it's almost like they're telling you to place a bet on this without telling you to place a bet. Like, you've got the two things together. Flat Earth and make a bet on your phone. So make a bet, and if you can, usually, bookmakers take any kind of bet. You can bet that, aliens will land or Elvis will return. Bookmakers take any kind of bet. So, it reminds me when Poncho tried to place a bet and they wouldn't take this bet. So I don't know if that's in Australia. It doesn't seem to be. There seems to be a drive towards Australia because the Australians seem to be. I'm not saying if they're slow coming to this understanding, but there doesn't seem to be a mass influx of us. There are some. There are definitely some Australians with this understanding, but it's like trying to reach. Because I was going to say as well, after this globe tour, the European, will it be onto Australia, Asia, and then America, or what's the is it onto bigger and better things and things like that? So it is exciting. But this advert, I think, is a good thing. People are just they just need to think about what's been. Hello.
All right, Travis.
He's on mute.
Hello, hello. What ho?
What, old man?
Good evening.
Did I come through?
You did. You are. You do.
Hey, Spurs, how are you, man?
I'm good. Not too bad. I'm just excited about this tour. I can't wait for these guys to experience what what we've been through.
Yeah, I just watching the episode you were in today. I enjoyed it. You guys did a great job. Hey, Adam.
Good evening, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, Ranty.
Spurs, if you're interested, why don't you just go on a bit of the tour for a bit?
Well, yeah, I've been considering it. I'm just thinking about the logistics. Going over there because it's different countries each day, so it's not like you're staying in one country. You have to like travel then to another country and to another country, and yeah. So I mean, yeah, I've been thinking about it.
You have to fly in and out. So I've flown into Milan, and then I'll get the train across from Milan to Venice and meet up with Ranty there. Then I'll drive around Italy, finish up in Milan, and I'm leaving from there. So you kind of just have to figure a little bit where you can jump on.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, definitely looking into it. Would definitely love to be a part of the European side of it. Because, like I say, it does need more of us. It's one of the guys, the people out there said to me, "Oh, first of all, he was like, oh, is this a joke? What's going on here? This can't be serious." And, by the end of it, he was like, oh, this is so different from being online. It's more effective out here because we can see each other's, you can see their face, you can see their response, and they can't escape. Like, if they're caught in a corner online, they can just turn off and then go away. But face to face, you see, they can't literally just run away, can they? So it's a lot different. So, I wanted to do Birmingham today, but obviously I couldn't get out there. I was busy and whatnot. But yeah, I think once you guys do it, you will want more of it for sure.
Morning. Hello, what up? Well, I don't know. I think, I guess Skype is my red hen radio, and YouTube I usually go under Plain Truth. So,
Thanks, Ranty. Definitely.
Evening, Trish.
Yep, love. Hello.
Good
How
evening,
are you?
Trish. Haven't heard you on the call before. Nice to see and meet. Greet and meet.
I've heard you a lot, though.
I bet you have. Yeah.
And the Adam Meakin, I love his work. I just love him, but I think I got him a bit confused with the Flat Earth Observer.
Yeah. He drives a crane. I definitely don't drive a crane, Trish.
Sorry, Adam, but I still love your work. You're awesome.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Oh, I don't know if the community would say I'm very kind, Adam, but I like your work, definitely.
You were to me just then, so it's qualifiable.
I am kind. I am.
So, Trish, you're Australian?
I'm actually a New Zealander.
New Zealand,
From
okay,
New Zealand.
sorry.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about Mark Sargent's advert, and Yeah. So, have you seen it? What do you think of it?
Yes. So I live in Australia. So I was born in New Zealand, moved to Australia about 12 years ago. To be honest, Australians are quite conservative. You've sort of got two extremes in Australia. You've got people who are quite liking conspiracy theories, and then you have some quite conservative Australians. And I think that ad, more or less the way that it's been packaged, is basically what we call down here taking the piss. So sort of laughing at him, not with him, and making it look like it's quite, a ridiculous notion to believe in this flat earth type thing. So I don't know. I think Ranty's right. Any publicity is probably good publicity. But I think for him, if you want to be taken seriously, I probably wouldn't have done the ad myself.
Fair enough.
The problem that I have, can I just ask, since I've got you guys, because you guys are, you're pretty intelligent and you know what's going on with the flat earth sort of movement and where the conversation's going. But I just want to be clear, I'm not a scientist at all. I'm a lawyer, and people sort of want to check my credentials, but I've got no reason to lie. I've been doing criminal litigation for many years, and now I work for some quite large companies doing commercial law, trademarks, copyrights, all those sorts of boring things. But I am good at getting to the bottom of something. I'm good at being able to look at things from outside of the box. So, and I have been researching Flat Earth for probably since 2014, really, when I sort of first heard about it. But I just want to ask a question in relation to the scientific method. Now, isn't it true that the globe has never been proved by scientific method? Because you cannot have an independent variable when you're dealing with Earth, Sun, Moon, stars, those sorts of things, right? So what the globe has got is they've got a whole lot of things that make up the evidence to suggest that potentially the world is a spinning ball. Now, I think the same for a flat Earth model, let's just say. We can't prove anything using the scientific method because we can never get the independent variable. So essentially, shouldn't we be attacking the globe model on the assumptions? Like, shouldn't we actually be going out there and looking at what they've determined as the evidence that proves that the world is round or that the sun sets every day? Or shouldn't we be just picking that apart by basically modelling it and showing that the same thing, the same observation can be made on a flat plane? Just putting it out there, just a question.
Yeah,
what does everyone think about that?
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do. That's exactly what we're trying to do. That's why we're trying to make the community understand on both sides, basically, that science hasn't proven the shape of the Earth. And then when we get to that level playing field, then we've got a chance. Then we literally take their evidence versus our evidence, and we weigh it up, and people make their minds up.
Well, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah,
we've been doing that, not trying, Ranty. I think we've been doing precisely that. Showing that there is zero scientific evidence. There's no science behind their heliocentric model or any of their claims that they think is science. They talk about a simple observation is science. They talk about maths. This is science. They're very confused on what science, actually is. Right?
That's right. And because of that confusion, because you talk to anyone who believes in the spinning ball, as we know, they'll say, oh, the scientific evidence is everywhere. They're delusional in that they think that there is scientific evidence everywhere. But however, if we could narrow it down to sort of the top 10 things that globe has used to prove the Earth, not something like the Coriolis effect, which I know has sort of been in the community debate for a while. Nothing like that, because to me, the average layman wouldn't even understand the concept, and it's not something you can readily just go out and observe. Something like the two sticks in different locations, because the shadow's longer in one than the other. Essentially, they say that proves that the Earth needs to be a globe. Well, what if we could model that and show that that could work, even if the Earth was a flat plane? So I'm meaning just picking it apart systematically, piece by piece.
Yeah,
because when you present pictures, like you've done some great observations, Randy. I've done some myself here in Australia, but I think when you present the pictures, there's so many. Could be refraction, could be angular, could be. It's still a lot of room for them to get very confused and argue the point, I think.
Yeah, I think there has been. I mean, we're just a very small part of what you would class, if you called it a movement, an FE movement. We're just a very small part. I mean, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of content creators all around the world, and people have done these things. People have actually done what you're saying now about proving that you can have a single light source that's going over a plane that can give you these effects on sticks at different locations. You'll have a longer shadow and stuff like this. So, you know, as you say, I mean, there's no... What you're saying here seems to me like the people have already done this, but a lot of it's got buried and forgotten about.
Yeah.
We've already been there and done this and 10 times over, to be fair.
I totally agree, and I'm not suggesting that we need to reinvent the wheel. What I'm suggesting is that because there's people, I mean, I can't think of his name, but there's a great channel and he does a lot of experiments, physical experiments where he goes out there, well, not an experiment in the scientific method type experiment, but where he does go out there and he debunks a lot of these things, but he's relatively small, and it does get buried. So what I think is we don't need to reinvent the wheel, but we just need to compile all of this evidence. We need to compile it to the point where you present it to a globehead and they're not going to be able to deny that the same phenomenon they see on their assumed globe can equally happen on our flat plane. I just think it's the delivery of the message, not necessarily that the evidence isn't there. I think the evidence is there. And maybe like your channel, Ranty, is probably a really good platform, and Nathan's, and mind you, Nathan's about debating, but do you understand what I'm saying? I think it hasn't been packaged
and so's Iron Realm Media. Adam.
Well done, Ranty. Well done. I was about to say you could mention Iron Realm.
Yeah, Iron Realm Media. Adam, have you got anything to say to Trish here about what she's bringing up?
I think a lot of the points or the examples you meant, there is stuff. I think the one I would point you to there is Dr. Zach's or Decimal Z's channel from about 2016. That shows both the demonstration physically and then also the maths involved in terms of turning those results into both flat and sphere. It's there, and I think there's a lot to be said for reruns, repetition, because I think those that have been around a while forget that actually, as we are, like with the adverts, you know, getting more and more people involved, that knowledge probably could be repeated a little bit more by those that do know it quite well. I suppose but that's what YouTube catalogues for. You don't always have to hit the live button.
Yeah, I agree, Adam, because I think someone like yourself and Ranty and even Spurs, you know, a lot of people, you guys have got a lot of knowledge because you've been looking into it yourself, you know. But I think the problem is when you've got new people that come in, they might not necessarily have gotten into the deep, you know, looking at channels. They probably don't even know where to look, to be honest with you, because YouTube censors so much. But it would be nice to just, when you do get someone like Brenda in, who gets quite adamant on certain points, to just say, well, hey, look, here we have a video that explains exactly that can exactly happen on a flat Earth model. I think maybe because you guys have seen it, and so you've satisfied yourselves that it can occur on both sort of models, if you like. But I think new people in the movement, they've just got no idea that information's out there. And that's why I think Eric Dubé, with his 200 proofs, why I think that was popular was not necessarily because his 200 proofs are necessarily all accurate, but I think it was the way he packaged it. It was all there, it was all in one video, you know, he wrote a book, it was sort of out there in your... And so all he needs to do when he comes up against a Glober is point to that 200 proofs, and you know, some of the proofs are pretty good. Not all of them, but I think maybe the Flat Earth needs to do that a little bit more.
What do you think about that, the plain truth? Spurs, anything to say?
I was just going to add there, Randy, that what is this? The flat Earth is what I'd say there, Tris. There is no body of the flat Earth. It's just up to individuals to do whatever they've done. But for me, there's enough stuff out there to pique your interest, and it's not necessarily beholden of the flat Earth to provide some handbook to this journey. You know, the only advice you can give is what we all say is go out there and prove it to yourself, and that does require you to go and follow your own questions and your own preconceptions and test them. That's the thing I want to tell people. Not believe this, look at this image, this means this. You can't change anybody's mind, only they themselves can, and that's for me the only message if we're talking about what we were saying earlier, going up with Spurs going on the tour, that I suppose summates what I would want people to go. You've got to go and look yourself. I started on this with saying, you know, the Earth's flat, and I'll shoot off and I'll disprove that. And it's about being honest with yourself, and that's why I'm still here.
Yeah, and I totally understand that too, Adam. Like, you know, I totally understand that. I do think that a lot of people, and you know, the work that I do, I see it a lot, especially when I was doing criminal litigation. But I see it a lot. People have deep-seated belief systems that they don't even know that they've got, and for them, you know, you're never going to change their mind because they're just so, it's deep-seated in their very soul and being that even if you presented, you know, 1,000 truths of proving that it's not a spinning ball, they're never going to see that it's not a spinning ball. But I just think, I understand that there's no sort of flat earth group, but I just think that we could get organised a bit more, that it would really progress. It would really progress it, and it would then maybe these academics, because I talk to scientists and quite intelligent people, engineers, all those sort of things all the time, and they do have reservations that this is a spinning ball. However, they don't want to come forward because they think that, well, you know, their career's on the line, but essentially they think we're all crazy. And so I think if we could organise ourselves and be a little bit more professional in terms of certain things, then I think a lot of these professionals who could add a whole heap to the conversation would actually come out of the woodwork. And that's not Flat Earthers' fault that we're portrayed as crazy. That's just how it is, you know. The mainstream media portrays us as crazy, but it does put a lot of people who could add so much value to the conversation off. We're a bit more organised and professional, potentially they might come forward.
Well, I'll just like to point out that Globebusters have started a new show, or about to start a new show, where they're inviting people, just like you say, these quote-unquote professional people to come in and tell them about their flat Earth experiences. So, in anonymity, if they so wish. So, hopefully, I mean, Globebusters is one of the most popular shows of this type on YouTube, so there's absolutely no reason to think that, you know, that it won't grow. I mean, if you think where the movement was 3 years ago, you know, it was in the gutter 4 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, you know, our arguments have improved so much, the people involved have improved so much, everybody's knowledge has improved, and it is getting out there.
Yeah.
You know, the conventions are getting bigger. You know, as Adam was telling us before, there's the Sun newspaper that are coming down to the Flat Earth Convention at in the UK. Bloody hell. And we've got some documentary makers, apparently, if we actually want to associate with them, who'll be going to the one at Amsterdam. So it's all building up, you know?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And I think that what Globebusters is doing with the professionals, I think that's great. I think that's really, really great, because I know that there's a lot of professionals out there that have You know, they have insider information. The problem is, though, is that, you know, I've spoken to surveyors, engineers. I used to do a lot of work here for the Queensland state government, working on major infrastructure, because I've got a law degree, but I also have a degree in environmental sciences, but I never really, I used it as a planning law type round. So I worked for the Queensland government over here and worked in their planning and appeals section on major infrastructure. So I've spoken to engineers who have built major bridges, you know, major infrastructure. I've talked to numerous different surveyors, and I'll tell you right now that none of them calculate for a curve. But when you present that evidence to a glober, they just straight away dismiss it. Oh, that's not true. I've got a friend who's an engineer and he has to allow for curvature, you know, all the usual arguments. So I think that's going to be a great forum. I think at the conference everyone should be very wary of the mainstream media, to be quite honest with you, Ranty, because the last, I think it might have been the BBC or the ABC that went to one of the conferences, they really spun it and made everyone look like they were crazy.
I mean, can I just say, you guys, Adam and Ranty, when you go out there, you'll find yourselves becoming counsellors. So, you know, you'll find yourself having to give advice, because what I encountered was, so a mother with 2 young children, and she's approached, she's asked what's going on, and we've said, well, what's the shape of the earth? We've gone through it, you know, they've lied to us. So she was in complete shock. She's, well, what do I do? Do I take the children out of school? Do I take them back to school? Asking me where do I turn? You know, I don't want my children to learn a lie. You know, so what I mean is, you'll have people freaking out in front of you because you're giving them a revelation that they've never even considered. So as much as you guys say, oh, well, it's not my problem, like, you know, you'd kind of drop a bombshell on people, and it's like, well, you kind of have to ease them back into reality somehow in that moment, because, you know, if you get to somebody there and then and they're panicking as a result of what you've told them, well, how are you going to react? Just brush them away and say, well, you know, I can't do anything for you now. You know, you have to go about your life and figure out on your own. But the reality is, people want advice, desperately want advice. They want direction, because it's what they, you know, yeah. Well, authority has been there for them their entire lives, you see, and all of a sudden, that authority, that direction has been taken away from them. So now that they say, okay, if it's not a ball, well, what is it then? Well, you know, what's going on? Explain, and you'll get that time and time again. You know, not just an average, well, what is it then? But desperation will tell us. Like, you know, they'll probably almost grab you and shake you and like, what's going on? Help me, and just figure out what's going on here. So prepare for that. You will become semi-counselors of some sort. You will find yourself, depending on how many people you speak to and that kind of thing, but advising people on what to do. Like, if you're generally trying to change people's minds, plant seeds. Let's say you plant a seed and it grows quickly, right? And it sprouts immediately, and they see the light instantaneously, but they don't know how to handle this immediate, you know, revelation, right? I've asked Dal. Yeah. I've said to Dal before, you know, people want direct, and he's just like, well, I'm not their master, I'm not their leader, I'm not their guru. But it's kind of a fine line, because you're telling people something huge, but, you know, they also want, again, I agree with Dal, but again, at the same time, they need help. So basically my question is to Ranty and to Adam and to Trish. You know, if they say to you, okay, so now I agree what you're saying, my children, what do I do? Do I take them out of school, or do I continue to let them learn the lies? What would you say, guys?
Have you got
wow.
First?
Oh, go Adam, sorry.
Have you got children first?
None that he knows of.
I think, or the only advice you can do is what do I do? And I talk to my children. I don't tell them to rebel within the education system. You know, the flat Earth isn't just the only revelation. How society functions is part of that, and how you function within it is also understanding. You can go around kicking and screaming at everything. It doesn't affect any real change in society. It just is of detriment to your function in it. So I would always, like, the only thing you can do is talk by example. So I talk to my children, and I don't bore them to death anymore with flat Earth. They're more than aware of it, you know. But I do answer any question that they feel to me, and it tends to be more outside of flat Earth, a lot bigger than that, you know, with all kids, the Illuminati kind of stuff, which is pop culture also, you know. So my answer, suppose, is to be honest and explain what I do with my kids.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, go ahead, Trish. Sure.
I was going to say, I actually agree with that, Adam, because I've got children as well. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. And I agree with Adam. You know, it is actually bigger. Like, there's a whole lot of other things happening. It's not just flat Earth. There's a whole lot of things that we've been lied to and kept in the dark. And I do the same thing. My daughter understands that, you know, what I think about the world, and I try and explain it to her. Obviously, at the end of the day, you still got to get along in the world, and she still needs to get the qualifications that the education system will provide her. And to do that, you have to conform. So I suppose we sort of have a understanding about certain things, but at the same time, I make it well known to her that, you know, when you're at school learning about the solar system, I don't want you to stand up and say, hey, my mum thinks the Earth is flat and I agree with her, because I think there's a certain level of just conformity that you've really just got to say, you know what, I know this is crap, but I'm just going to appease them. I'm just going to conform. I'm going to get what I need to get out of it. And, you know, you just keep your beliefs to yourself a lot. But it's hard. It's, you know, my daughter does a history study on something, and I know the history that they're learning in school is just absolute crap. But she's got to parrot what they tell her, or otherwise she's not going to get anywhere. So I suppose it's individual, really.
Yeah, I think that the whole issue is just simply helping our children to be critical thinkers and to follow the trail that a question might present to them. And so my marriage ended last year, May, and I mean, there was a lot more behind the story, but the final straw that broke the back, in my opinion, was flat Earth. And my youngest son, who's 14 now, he was 13 at the time. Was it 13? Yeah. No, he was 12. When I started trying to talk with him about it, and basically I was just asking investigative questions about our world, he was very engaging. You know, he would come back at me, and he would argue with me, and it was healthy. All I was doing to him, and I said this to him, I said, it's okay for you to ask these questions, and I want you to know that I'm always going to be here when you're ready to have this conversation or whatever. But what I said was that he was very interested and engaged at the beginning, and my ex-wife actually came in and came after him so hard against me that my son shut down against me, right? So whereas he was open to having that conversation with me, that turned, and he no longer will have a conversation with me, and that's unfortunate. But the thing that I've learned in my journey, and I try to say this to my kids as much as possible without being obnoxious. It's okay if you have questions, because even about religion, because they still go to the church that I went with them, and my views in that area have changed as well. But even in that arena, I was ostracized. So my first decision to break with the consensus was to stand up against my own community and say, I don't think that what we're believing to be the case is actually the case, and here's why. But I wasn't allowed to have that discussion because the culture of Christianity, you do not entertain a falsehood. You don't entertain it. You just you know that it's wrong, and there's no reason to have a discussion. And so my kids were already aware of that, that Dad is changing his mind on certain things, and no one likes it. It makes people uncomfortable. And so anyway, my whole point was just Spurs. I think you asked the question, or Ranty asked the question. But I think it's really to teach our children that it's okay to have questions. And as Trish said, when you're in the classroom, I think that we should teach them to ask the right kinds of leading questions that just have someone else 4 rows away go, I never thought about that.
Yeah, but the problem I think with children is that they accept answers. So they're not in a position to demonstrate any answer that they're given. So that, they believe in things like Santa Claus. They accept it. You can tell them exists, it doesn't exist. They accept it. So I think what the problem, just an example, like you were saying, you and your wife here. So the wife is how can I say, more dominant in her assertions, like it's a globe. We've been told this is. She's going. I don't know if this is the case, but I'm just giving an example. Yours, not you, but again in general, we like to say, well, give the children the option to think what they like, to give them a choice. But I don't think children want that. I don't think people want that. People want to know stuff. So when children are curious and asking, they're asking because they want to know. So if mom is saying, well, I know because we've been told and we have all this, and father is saying, well, we don't know, but just ask questions. I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong. There's nothing wrong here. I'm just saying.
No, I get it. Yeah, there's a certain level in our educational process where children that are young are those who they parrot, right? They repeat.
Mm-hmm.
They say the same thing. So you teach them a paradigm. You teach them 2 + 2 and ABC and this.
Yeah, you're very strict with the teaching. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not force, but it is force. It's like you want them to recognize 2 + 2 is 4. You don't want them to have an opinion on, well, if you like, you can have 2 + 2 is 5 if you like. So the same as with the shape of the earth. We're giving them the option of, as adults are saying, here's an option. You can be a ball, it can be flat, it can be whatever you like it to be. But in reality, children are that curious, they don't want that. So if one person's saying, this is what it is, we've been told, they'll just go with that, until someone else sways them in another way and says, no, this is what it is. You can see when 2 adults are arguing, they just look with their heads both ways, left, right, and who has the authority, so to speak. So it's
the one. Mm-hmm. The one thing I'll piggyback on with the Santa Claus is that we consciously told our children the truth about Santa Claus. So my oldest, who's 22, when he was 4 or 5, just real small. I mean, he was able to still sit in the grocery cart, and and we were going through the line, and it was Christmas time, and the cashier said, little boy, what is Santa Claus going to bring you? And my son said, Santa Claus is dead. Okay, so we taught our children that the historical figure, Saint Nick. You know, he was a real man. You know, he lived a long time ago. This is what the story is based on. But we also told our children, don't go talking about this with your classmates because their mom and their dad have probably told them otherwise. And I can't recall having to have that kind of a conflict. Like, my kids didn't ever rock that boat. You know, they just knew that some families do Santa Claus, we don't.
Right.
So I think you can still teach young children that, you know, there's a difference in belief systems and structures, and wait until, and that's really where I guess my answer came from when I said that if you ask the right questions in a classroom setting. I was not thinking of a 6-year-old. I was thinking of someone in high school and also upper level.
Yeah, more mature, right? Yeah.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Because you know, at the end of the day, you want your kids to be accepted in sort of the schooling community, but at the same time, you do want them to feel comfortable questioning everything. It's a fine line. I think it's an individual type thing, and I think if you have a good relationship with your children and you allow them to question things, you know, respectfully, I think that, yeah, we can create these critical thinkers. And I think that's the problem, is that there's not enough adults now who were ever allowed to critically think. They saw the moon landing on TV. The TV was whirled into the classrooms. And they just took for gospel the fact that, oh, hey, it was on TV, it must have happened. They never questioned the moon landing. And I think that's a really good example.
So, you know, a lot of ball earthers, they kind of ask, because again, they want to know what to do in this. So they ask, well, okay, so if we stop teaching the ball, what would the schools be like? You know, what would they teach in the ideal world? If children didn't have to keep questioning because they were suspicious, maybe. I mean, are they asking because they're suspicious, or are they asking because they're curious? You know, I'm just trying to figure out what's being said. Are they asking questions? Why? Why are they asking? Because they're curious or because they're suspicious of what they're being told? So, you know, if we remove the suspicion, I suppose ball earthers want to know how lessons would go, you know, how things would be taught, if you understand.
Well, you know, I don't know. I think the education system, especially here in this part of the world, in Australia and New Zealand, over the years has just been so dumbed down. There's no room for critical thinking anymore. Like, even at the universities, you know, it's all sort of like a left-wing type agenda. People are not taught, you know, you're not taught to question anything. But the thing is, as well, is that, you know, even a degree, you know, I deal with junior lawyers who are coming out of university all the time. And I'll tell you right now, like, I don't know what's happened in the education system, but they know probably a fifth of what I knew coming out of university, the same university in some instances, you know, 20 years ago. So I just think that the curriculum's been dumbed down. I think that, you know, the quality of the education system's not the same anymore. But, you know, what
I'm saying is, what should they be learning? Why do children even go to school? What should they know about the world where we live? I think the ball earthers want to know, well, what are we trying to change here? So everyone's a flat earth.
I think the big picture, really, it's bigger than flat earth. It's really just about control, right? So the education system's part of it, the government's part of it, you know, all of the information is heavily controlled. They want to tell you what they want you to know, and that's it. And if you want to get along in the world, you have to conform, and if you don't want to conform, then you're a bit of a misfit, and you're going to be pushed to the outskirts of society, which isn't great either. So I don't think that it's just the schools. I think it's bigger than that, but I don't think that. I think it's so big that you can't bring it down to just one thing. Hey, let's teach them this in schools, and all of a sudden everyone's going to be better. I don't think it comes down to that. I think it's so ingrained in society now, and it's been there for years and years and years to just control the population and, you know, to make us these sheeple people to believe whatever's on TV. Never question governments, you know, don't question war, don't question climate change, all those sorts of things. I just think that, you know, it's just so many years in the making of this information control that I don't think you can really just pinpoint one thing. I think it's just too big.
Again, I'm just thinking direction. People want direction, and we, you know, by default or whatever.
They do.
Yeah, however we look at it, we seem to be we have this, because again, the way the ball earthers look at it is that we have this understanding, and everybody else is wrong. So it's like, how is this happening? How are we able to see through this veil that you know, billions are not seeing through? The scientists, you know, this. So, you know, we seem to be taking the lead in this understanding. So people will want direction. So
I agree, people want direction, and it's human nature for people to want direction. You know, it's, people might call it manipulation, but, you know, I see it every day that you can change somebody's mind by planting a few seeds. You can actually change someone's mind, but you can do that for good and evil, of course. So you can change their mind to wake up and question things, but you can also change their mind to fit your own personal agenda as well, and there's a lot of that going on too, and it's easily done. Humans are flawed. We're flawed in the way we think, the way we puppet things, the way we just, you know, follow blindly a whole lot of things in the world.
Do you think... I was going to say, do you think that's what's stopping a lot of people coming to flat? It becomes too philosophical, like it gets.
100%. I think what stops them is that people have, and everybody's got it, whether we choose to admit it or not. Everybody has a deep-seated belief system. Now, outwardly, they won't admit that. You know, it's like, let's say someone doesn't like red cars, for the sake of this argument, right? And you say, oh, but you don't like red cars. That's your belief system, that red cars are no good, you know. They will convince themselves that that's not true. But deep down in their belief system, when they see a red car, subconsciously, they don't like it. And changing someone's belief system, and that's why it's so hard when people are so-called brainwashed, because that becomes their belief system. And it's very different to change someone's mind to change someone's belief system. It's almost impossible. And that's why you talk to a lot of lawyers who do jury trials. You know, if I'm representing a gay man, I'm not going to pick 6 jurors who are heterosexual, even though they'll sit on the stand and say that they're not homophobic. Deep down inside, I can't trust what they're saying, and deep down inside, their belief system, I'm never going to change that. I'm never going to change it, you know. So I think that's part of it. But I agree that people want direction, and that's why we are where we are, because people are sheep, and they're looking for someone to make all the decisions for them. They don't want to take responsibility for a lot of it.
When, and this is to, you know, everyone on the panel, when do you think the government will, because this is a conspiracy that they're trying to keep a secret, and we're like revealing their secret. When do you think they'll take it more seriously in terms of, I wouldn't say harming individuals, but silencing the more vocal?
I think they do already. I think there's plenty of gatekeepers.
No. I don't mean. I mean really, like removing the front runners, the speakers. You know, because obviously, let's say if you look at the people who were speaking about Flat Earth now, the most prominent people. If all of those disappeared now, where would Flat Earth be today? For every single one of the people that you know and love, we're not here helping Flat Earth to get where it is now.
Well, see, I think that's where you're misguided, because you're not going to remove the, Ranties or the Eric Dubé.
No. I'm saying that. No.
You're not
I'm
going to
not
remove that.
No. I'm saying, when do you think they? Because right now, the elite or the government are thinking, well, people are not really, it's not catching on fire. It's very slow. But obviously, if it becomes
they won't remove them though. They just discredit you. They make you look like a nut job. That's far better than taking you out, because if they take you out of the community, people will start saying, hey, where did Ranty go? Hey, it must be true. So they're not going to do that. What they're going to do is they discredit you. They say things, they make you look like a nut job. That's how they remove people, because just to take someone out would look too obvious. So what they do is they just totally discredit you. And coming back to Mark Sargent's ad, good on Mark for doing that, but I think that's part and parcel of that whole movement to discredit people, to make us look like crazy people.
No, I'm not wishing. I'm not wishing death. I'm not wishing death on anybody. But I'm saying, if we look at this seriously, every huge conspiracy throughout the ages, they remove people from. When people are trying to change the paradigm, so if you look throughout the 60s, the 70s, even back further than that, you can even look. But the idea is that now they're not concerned. So what you're saying about the discrediting, I think that's happening now. They're trying to... Yeah, so that phase, for me, is happening now. It's like, okay, so let's ridicule them as much as we can. And so what I'm saying is, if that doesn't work, if we maneuver through the ridicule and continue to make ground, so YouTube have done what they need to do with the algorithms. The media have tried to ridicule, but it's not working. People are still coming to this understanding, and we're being effective. So.
Well, I think that comes back to my first point, and what I meant is that it's not that the information's not out there. I feel we need to be more organised, as opposed to saying, oh, well, it's not necessarily my problem. I understand that. Everyone's, got to do their own research. They've got to come to their own conclusions. But if we're more organised and we're more, unified and we're sort of more of a group organisation type thing, I think it's far less easy for them to discredit. When you're an individual sitting there, trying to get information out, it's very easy to pick you off. But when you're sort of a strong, organised, well-organised group, I think it's a lot harder for them to try and discredit, because all of a sudden they have to discredit a whole lot of people. People have the power, and I think that's what a lot of people don't know. If we, the people, stood up all together, unified, we'd be able to get rid of all of these so-called elite and governments. But the problem is that they're out there constantly dividing and conquering and dividing and conquering. And so Flat Earth, what I was saying was, if we could get organised and organise ourselves like an army or an organisation, it's going to be far harder for them.
Yeah, but what this is...
No, it's going to be far easier for them.
Trish, this is what I'm saying. You're talking... Sorry, Arwijn. You're saying precisely what I'm saying. So if an army or any type like this, it's almost like saying you want a civil war, then they'll have to start taking people
Yes.
out.
Exactly, Spurs. That's exactly what I'm saying. They have to start taking notice. They have to. But currently, we're just all sort of out doing, we're all doing good things, I'm sure, but we're all out sort of doing our own things individually. And if we can become a collective, like a well-oiled machine, they will have to stand up and take notice. That's my opinion.
They're already taking notice.
Yeah, they are. And all I see is an increase in discrediting.
If we organize some kind of uniform organization, the only thing it'll do is paint a giant target on our backs, and a good reason for them to point at a very specific organization instead of a bunch of divided people. No, I think that's a
but I think though, Arwijn, if you have a look, there's safety in numbers. They can try and, a lot of people leave the movement because of the ridicule, the trolling. You know, a lot of people, as an individual,
that's not going to go away if we're going to form an organization. It's only going to make it worse. People are actually going to fear us then.
Yeah, it won't go away, but
they already do, you know. But because we're not an organization and just a bunch of people, it's not that big a threat.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if we do get an organization and become that big a threat, what we'll do is just create a huge amount of friction, more fear.
Well, what we'll do is we'll make them have to notice. They'll have to notice.
Also, there's another disadvantage of becoming a unified organization. Okay, that's called power and corruption, and that's called started people that will try to force specific type of narratives, specific type of structures, a model on the rest of the people. It's a very bad idea. It's not good for progress or discovery at all. And we're still in the progress of actually discovering what the Earth is. So that doesn't seem like a good idea, really, to me.
Okay, well,
I mean, I think they've killed. I think they've killed people for less. Like, if you look at the music industry, it's just entertainment, you know, and people are taken out. I mean, Kennedy was taken out. That's a big deal. But I mean, but for Flat Earth, we're trying to change the entire education, and you know, we're trying to show that the system is a complete lie, not to be trusted. So authority should not be trusted. Do they want that? Right?
Yeah. So what we can offer is absolute freedom, freedom of thought, freedom of discussion, freedom of speech, and everybody having their own ideas and people leaving them to have their own ideas. And that way we're all kind of safe. Works much better, is much more appealing for people to learn about something that's really very complicated that way, instead of just, we're an organization. You can join against the world with us. That'll just attract more militant types that are seeking for power. So...
No, you've got that incorrect. I'm not saying let's form an organisation and tell everyone.
Oh, really? I thought that's exactly what you were saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying get organised, present the information so that people can come to their own conclusions. I was quite clear on that.
That's what people are already doing. People are getting together behind the scenes, building stuff together, using each other's material with permission, and doing that, exactly that. So
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Let's get organised. Let's start organising.
It's already happening.
Not become a dictatorship.
That's already happening. That's already been happening.
You still there, Adam?
I am talking about that, Arwijn. I can't help you with some stuff until after the weekend, mate. So I'm back sort of Monday. I've got Spurs to finish first, and then I'll crack on with your stuff, mate. So yeah, Spurs. I'll probably Monday or something.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're a man in demand. So let me guess, Arwijn, you're looking to juice your show up a little bit.
Yeah.
Good stuff. That's what I like to hear. And I know that Spurs Chemo, he's going to be doing his own show too. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about that, Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to get that organised there. Just to do with gas pressures, chemistry. Ball Earthers love to talk about. They love to talk about the sky and what's up there. I think it's time that they actually describe what the sky is, the ether, the molecules, particles, all of these wonderful things. And yeah, I think once we can get that going, because it's been interesting for a few months now, so people can't stop talking about pressure of some kind. So yeah,
hey Spurs. Zach's done a great video for you to look at. Yeah, he's done one with balloons taking them up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think there needs a platform for chemistry. We've spoken about physics, biology with evolution has been covered. So chemistry.
There's some great YouTube videos out there actually about all of that too, and I would really encourage people to go and have a look. Not necessarily flat earthers, but there's a guy, I'm not sure what he's called. I'll find out and I'll send you the link if you want, Randy. But he shows a lot of things happening in a vacuum. You know, like I'm not a science person at all, but you know, just things like, okay, well, why can water boil in a vacuum when there's no change of temperature, and then boils to the point of freezing? You know, things like that are very interesting for people to question in terms of temperature, pressures, those sorts of things. So yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of information out there if people want to go and have a look at it. But
yeah, so if you want to put the link in the chat, Ranty, and people can subscribe to that, and as soon as that is up and running, people will be able to get a dose of gases and pressure.
Well, what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description. That'll be easier. Super. I don't know what your channel's called. Do you want to tell them what your channel's called?
It's under no pressure. That's under no pressure.
And Arwijn, so what are you planning on your show then? You're looking for a little bit of an upgrade?
Yeah.
Cool. What are you doing? Are you going to get a green screen?
That's not going to be possible at all. Here, no.
Okay.
But I'll see. I don't know. I'm pretty much up for anything at this point. You know, the old format it's become so incredibly stale now that even I'm getting totally sick of it. So yeah, and it would be good to get some kind of sensible panel back because the Skype call only system's not really working. It's not the right time for it in the morning. Nobody's there, so yeah.
Okay. And
I'll figure it out.
Adam, with the
keep going, Arwijn. Keep going, Arwijn.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
You know, don't. You know, I've got to say, Arwijn's probably one of the most trolled people I've seen.
No shit.
And you know, like, I mean, I do support Arwijn. I really do support you, Arwijn. And I think, you know, it doesn't matter. If the trolls are going to be there, I agree with what Ranty was saying when he was on your show yesterday. If the trolls are going to be there, Arwijn, let them be there, because you know what? You're getting the word out. Whether they're trolls, not trolls.
Oh, really?
You might have 10
like what?
Yeah.
Like what?
You might have 10 trolls, but you might have 2 people in there that actually take on board what you say and think, hey, I might go and have a look at this. This guy might be talking some truth. You've got to take the good with the bad, Arwijn. Just keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward, Arwijn. Show your model. I agree with Randy too. Show your model. You know, I'm really interested to find out more about that.
Sure.
Keep your head up, Arwijn. It's all good.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Arwijn, don't forget, you have a new opportunity to take a step in the area of investigation and observation, so that can bring an interesting format to your channel.
As soon as I can figure out how to actually survive until that time, yeah, that's gonna be great.
And plenty of canals in Holland, lots of waterways, so you might be able to replicate the Bedford Canal experiment of some kind, anyway, some sort.
And then you can always up your viewership with some peeping tomfoolery. You know, you can find some. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that works great when you're kind of getting depressed.
We see enough
doesn't
peeping.
Aggravate things at all.
we see enough peeping Tom when Arwijn's naked.
Arwijn, you can do some stuff when you get your camera off Ranty. You can do your stuff, but you can be man on the street. Go out, take some great photos, and talk to people about it. Be the man on the street. Just question people, because there's so many people out there that have never even thought about the shape of the earth. Millions, you know. Just keep doing what you're doing, Arwijn. Don't let the haters.
Oh, I will.
Don't let,
And that what you described there is not part of it. Because I don't think in my current condition, the way I look, that would work out. Nah, not really. But I do talk about it like in places like coffee shops where people are just up for a conversation. Absolutely.
Excellent. Film that stuff, Arwijn. Film that stuff.
Yeah, that's
great. It's great. Just keep your head up, Arwijn. Keep doing what you're doing and just stay in truth. And, you know, you have got really good supporters out there. Don't feel like you're doing it alone.
I just want to do a little shout out to Globusters Bob, who reminded me of the video where they shot a bullet straight up and it landed back in the same spot. I remember that because they had to dive for cover. There was no Coriolis there, was there?
That's the other thing as well, Ranty. People are not aware what's actually out there because there's another video where and it might be the same one, might not be, but I think they might have been South African, but they shot numerous rifles straight up into the air, and you know basically had to dive under vehicles and things because the bullets were coming straight down. Now, the problem is though is that you show a globe of that, and there'll be some reason why it wasn't scientific or whatever, but there is huge amounts of evidence out there of people shooting guns up straight into the air and them landing basically in the same place. Cannons as well. It's getting the information out there. I don't know. The YouTube censorship's not helping at all.
That reminds me. Wasn't there a scene in the movie with Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts? It was called The Mexican, and they were in this Spanish town, and someone fired a gun straight up, and it came back down and hit the guy next to him in the head. Just thinking about that. I think that was the scene. Something like that. Anyway, that was an inadvertent against Coriolis.
Got some dead air for a change. We've not had silence for about an hour. It's been pretty good. I've been trying to get a word in, and every time I've been just taking an inhale to say something, the second's gone. So it's been pretty cool.
If I can grab a sec, Randy, because I'm gonna head off because I'm gonna get up early tomorrow.
Do you want to plug IRM tomorrow?
Yeah, there's IRM's on Ironworks on TFR tomorrow, and then, like I said, over the weekend I'll be just going live randomly. But then we've got the Have No Sphere, so that should be Josh is doing that stream, so I'm not sure exactly whether it's probably going to be near 11 o'clock, I would think, from what he's saying, and the normal 10:30, so it might be just a little bit late, but yeah, that should be on 10:30 tomorrow, and I'll be sticking my head in from the convention there as well, I assume. So.
Okay, Adam. Well, thanks for stopping by, and have a good sleep.
Cheers.
Thanks for talking, Adam. I love your work. Love it.
Cheers.
Yeah, sorry, I was really late.
Take care, Adam.
Travis, yeah, mate. Take it easy, bro. And
bye, Adam.
We'll get you a nice new skin next week or so.
Oh, no, get the Italian for bye.
Oh, well, ciao.
Ciao, of course.
Oh, arrivederci.
Oh, Adam.
Arrivederci, absolutely.
Adam, I want the noisiest, most screamy type of look you can imagine. I want everyone to get epileptic attacks from it.
Is it going to be a whiteboard with numbers on?
That works for George.
I say we go with that elven look. Arwijn.
Sure.
So we're joined by Bob. Brian. Joined by Brian.
Hey, Randy. Hey, everybody.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
I was just saying goodbye, so I will say hello, Brian, and then goodbye, Brian. So
I say goodbye to you already, Adam. I thought you were gone.
I'm going. I'll just linger a bit. Right. See you later, guys. God bless.
Hello, goodbye.
Easy.
All right, good night, Adam.
Okay, catch you later. Have anything to add there, Bob? Bob, have I got Bob on? I'm going to go on mute for a minute.
Brian, I think it is.
Yeah, I was listening to what George was saying, Trish. You were saying that you work as a solicitor, is it? Normally.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were kind of saying about what I was gathering from what you were saying earlier about having, let's say, evidence there on hand is basically building a case of sorts. Always
Correct.
having like a catalogue of evidence.
Yeah. Exactly.
That can be accessed. Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good idea.
Exhibits. Litigation trial. You would have all seen on TV the solicitors going into court just with folders and folders of stuff. Well, that's exhibits. You put your submissions forward, you put your arguments forward, and you have your evidence that backs it up. Now, because we can't prove anything using the scientific method when we're dealing with sun, moon, stars, earth, then all we've got is really evidence. And that's all I'm saying, is that we just build a case. We build a case against the spinning ball model. We just build a case. And that's essentially all the Globers have done. They've built a case that works and fits their assumptions. And that's, I'm just saying, let's do the same thing. Let's get organised and build that case.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe something where, let's say there was a group of people, let's say the main players, like Ranty and Anthony Riley and Adam Meakin and, obviously the Nathan, people like that, QE, that Arwijn, obviously, and Spurs, all the people that are there now, yourself, if you all had access to like a Skype account or something like that, or something like this, or a YouTube account where it was a catalogue of evidence. So something like Skype or something, or an email, something where there was a catalogue and it was all categorized. About like one part could be dealing with Coriolis and anything to do with Coriolis, another thing to do with gravity and density. Yeah. You had to deal with curvature, visual stuff like that. Because then the problem is like some people have videos, and I might want that video to show to somebody, but I can't remember where I saw it. Things like that. Yeah. If I didn't save it, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, what I'm talking about is just cataloguing everything in one place, so that when flat Earth people are talking to the globe heads, it's like, boom, well, actually, we have this whole library, which is properly catalogued, which you can go to. Exactly that. Now, like I said, I'm not a scientist at all. What I'm suggesting is that someone with my sort of skill set, what I can do is, if everyone throws the information, I can put it into a system where it's nicely categorized. I'm good at organising those sorts of things. Compelling arguments, and then the evidence that you can point to. And you're right. Like, I've seen so many videos about so many things that globeheads talk about, and I just can't remember where I saw it, or it's just about organising the information flow.
Yeah, I think that if there was obviously, as I said, a certain group of kind of main players that looked after this catalogue and said yay or nay on what got in there and what didn't, and then I'm not saying you have to do it on your own, but you could be in charge of it or of starting it, of organising it correctly. So it's in a situation, so it can be easily accessed, because obviously in court you want to be able to easily access what it is that you need to access there and then. Things like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course, you have to be heavily organised, because you might have 1,500 pieces of evidence that's going to be that you're wanting to put forward. Now, you've got to do it in a very systematic way. you've got to make sure that one piece of evidence doesn't get lost under another piece of evidence, and that it's all explained where a layman can understand it. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just going to work out great. There's not going to be any division about that at all, and especially not since all the input is going to be from all different kind of sources. And
no, but what happens though, Arwijn, is you set up some sort of a forum like yourself, Ranty, Sleeping Warrior, Nathan, you guys who have got the knowledge, the technical knowledge, and every piece of information before it's catalogued or before it goes into this depository, you guys look at it and you peer review it and you say, you know, is this good enough to be put into our library? And you can compare different videos or different evidence on the same thing and work out what you guys, the technical brains, what you guys think should be submitted into that sort of library type thing. So it wouldn't just be a matter of everyone dumping things in there. There would be a proper peer review. Like, you know, before someone goes to court, they might have two pieces of evidence that demonstrates the same thing, but you brainstorm things and you work out what piece of evidence is actually more compelling than the other one, and that's the one that gets put in there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. Well, good luck with that, because that's huge amount of work, and just trying to keep track of what's going on is kind of a job by itself.
Yeah.
So
well, you've got that's the thing though, Arwijn. Like for someone who's technically minded, that might sound like a huge amount of work. For someone like me that does it every day and in my daily job, it's quite easy. You know, I can't do the scientific observations, but there are people out here in the community that have a certain skill set that I think we can really utilise. You know, I can't do what you do. I can't do what Ranty does. I can't do what Nathan does in terms of debates. But hey, guess what? I can catalogue things. I can systematically put arguments and submissions together. And that's not a big job for me, because it's sort of something that I've done for a long time, and you get yourself into a system.
Okay, go ahead then. I don't think that Nathan doesn't allow you to dig through his materials. Go ahead.
No, but I don't have the expertise to be able to determine what material should pass. You know, what material should get there, Arwijn. That's why we would have to rely on people like you and Ranty and Sleeping Warrior, because I don't have the scientific knowledge to be able to say, hey, that's
then
right.
What use is organization skills if you don't know how to organize it?
No, I think I think you're picking Trish up wrong, Arwijn. I think what I think she's saying what she's saying is that I'm not really trying to talk for you, Trish, here. I think that
no, that's right, Brian. Go ahead.
What Trish is trying to say is, if yourself and the rest of the panel, the rest of Nathan's panel, if you make decisions, it doesn't have to be a load of stuff at the start. Just start cataloguing what should and should not go towards. If you wanted to think of it as if you wanted to create a court case, just what should and should not go through as evidence. And if you send these things in an email.
Sam Hain. Shout out to Ranty's bed. Hell yes. I'm in for a good night, boys and girls.
You know, it's strength of evidence or whatever else. And it's like, at the end of that, then what you have is a situation where you have all this evidence to present to, never mind the ballers, we present stuff all day to them, they don't want to see it. It's the public out there, Joe Public, the ordinary people, and professional people. Because if you've got something strong that professional people would stand behind, then they'll stand behind you. But they're not going to stand behind something that can't be somewhat maybe not proven, but that there's not evidence there to show that what we're being told is wrong about something, at least, that kind of way.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Brian. And it would be quite sophisticated. Would make sure that we have cross-referenced everything. You could have a paper that basically cross-references every piece of evidence that you've got that proves certain things, and it could be categorized. And I think exactly
that's really lovely, but unless you can do it, I don't think any of us is really willing to dig in all that. at this point.
I can do it, but I can do that. That's no problem at all. But
yeah, but if you can do it without somebody else telling you how things are, then what use is it? You're going to be needing somebody. That's just like me saying, look, I can make a really cool 3D model. That's awesome. I just need somebody who can 3D program it for me and everything. Yeah, no, that's not going to work.
I don't think that's it, Arwijn.
Hang on, I'll address that. When I'm going to court, Arwijn, when a litigator goes to court, someone's on a murder charge, right? We're just mouthpieces. We don't have the technical expertise. We bring in the experts. So if I want to disprove something, I'll bring in an expert in that area, say a blood spatter expert, get him on the stand and question him. I can't give that sort of evidence myself. No lawyers can. That's not our area of expertise. That's what I'm saying. Your area of expertise or Randy's area of expertise is not mine, and vice versa. And that's why it's got to be a collaboration. It's got to be a collaboration. I don't think you understand that.
Yeah, I do. And it's giving me a headache.
Yeah, but it wouldn't take that much work, Arwijn. It would just be a gradual thing that would happen. It's not right, Trish. It would just be a gradual thing that within the space of a year. It would be within the space of a year, year and a half. We'd have a load of information compiled, government documents, you name it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many things.
Just for an example.
Really, you got the server space? You got the security for that?
Well, just we can work all that out. Those are semantics.
No, that's actually at the core of it. If you don't have that, then you're going to build on a giant project, and then suddenly somebody's going to move in. Just like remember what Brenda did when she didn't like certain photographs? Right. Shit happens accidentally. No. If you're going to build a giant database with potentially unwanted information by the government, you better damn well secure it.
Just sort of big picture stuff, I'm talking things like the flight manuals, where the flight manuals, in certain flight manuals it tells you. Think of the Earth as non-spinning, non-rotating, flat plane.
But there's other ways to do that, much better, much more decentralized ways, and that is just having communities like on Skype, and you just drop the info and people download it on their computer, and then suddenly everyone has it on their computer. And if somebody needs it, then they ask, look, I got it on my computer.
Yeah, I think I'm missing the point, Arwijn, of what Trish is trying to say. I think I'm missing the point. I mean, the point is that you're building basically a case that's rock solid. It doesn't have to have 50 million pieces of information. And if it went missing, that we wouldn't be able to find them again. There's ways of having all this stuff backed up. It's just a case of it just needs to have enough.
What case?
Well,
if we're talking in judicial terms, what case are you talking about?
We're building a case to say that against spinning ball.
Exactly.
Against who?
The case against.
It's against mainstream.
Not a spinning ball.
Mainstream. Okay, what is mainstream? Are you going to sue CNN?
But it's not about suing people, Arwijn.
It's a case.
Sorry, Trish, go on.
It's to put a case forward, a compelling case, that we do not live on a spinning ball. It's that simple.
That's not what court is about. You have to have a defendant or somebody you're actually targeting. Otherwise, there's no point.
Well, it doesn't have to go to court.
But then it's not a case. Then you can have lectures. Yeah, you can organize lectures and just go everywhere and do that.
Arwijn,
sure.
You're missing the point.
Oh, I'm not. I'm trying to clarify the point, and it's not very clear here.
Here, I'll be clear. We're putting a case together. The defendant is the Earth is a spinning ball. We're saying it's not. It's flat. We're putting evidence together to show that the Earth is flat. It's quite a simple concept.
Yeah, well, Arwijn, if you present a professional case against the spinning globe to people who are engineers, let's just say, who are on the flat Earth side but won't come forward, as Trish, you've said, you've spoken with them. If you can present a professional case, that they can stand behind, then you'll have a much bigger professional base who are willing to come forward out of the shadows, who are there, but they won't come forward. Because they don't want to be labelled as crazy or tinfoil hat wearing or whatever. You know, it's not about going to court. It's about presenting a case to the world. Not in some courtroom. That's not going to one court case is not going to end it.
That's what our arguments are about.
Yeah, but you don't have to stop that. This is just an extra. It's moving forward. The ordinary person, you need to have something that the ordinary person in the street can say, yeah, I can sink my teeth into that. I can understand that.
Yeah, like what the Globe Light Tour is doing, what they did. They have that. That's what people are doing this.
Yes, but you're not going to bring people out who are like the likes of engineers and people like that. People who are involved in the building of airliners and stuff like that. You won't bring those people out in the aerospace industry. But you won't bring those people out of the shadows. But you won't bring them out of the shadows with that attitude. It won't work.
That attitude.
The Globe Light Tour is great for the person on the street, but you're not going to bring. You're not going to bring these people. These people are interested too, but they're not coming forward because they basically have a persona to keep up, and they won't be taken serious by their peers and people around them. Maybe if they start coming out saying, "Look, I think the Earth is flat," you know, people aren't going to. Maybe people won't take them serious as an engineer or whatever. You know, look what happened to Brian Mullen.
Yeah, people you think that making a good presentation is going to change that? Of course not.
Well, if you're showing Arwijn, go on, Trish.
Arwijn, I hope you never find yourself in a courtroom, because when you find yourself in a courtroom and you've got to convince 12 people of a narrative, it does work. Evidence does work to making people change their mind. It's not necessarily
they don't about necessarily change their mind.
It's the same thing, though.
No, it's not.
We're preparing the evidence to show people so that they can actually have something tangible to hold on to and go, hey, you know what? You might be onto something. That's it. It's planting seeds. It's planting seeds.
Exactly. If we hand them good arguments, verbal good arguments, that's usually the best defense in the moment. They're not going to walk around with pieces of paper printed out with graphs every time it comes up. Who does that kind of thing?
No, that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. And I'm sorry, Arwijn, but a professional person in the professional world and the real world out here would not take someone's verbal diarrhea argument as any type of evidence.
No, what if you actually understand it, then you can explain it properly.
People don't understand it, though, Arwijn. They want to see the evidence. They want to see you backing up your claim.
Yeah, so that's when the moment is like, oh, really? So show me. And then people show at one of the 100,000 Flat Earth videos, whatever they think is one of the best explanations suited for the moment. That's what we do.
What we're saying, if you had that information categorized and easily accessible, then boom, there's your backup of your claim. You're missing the point, Arwijn. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I agree totally with you, Trish. I think that's. I was thinking about along those lines myself before. I totally agree. That would be a brilliant thing to have for the ordinary person as well to be able to access. They can't have control over it. They're not moderating it, but they have the access of it. So somebody. Even take this. Let's say there's someone who's an engineer, and he's in the room with friends of his who are. Some of them are engineers, some of them are surveyors, whatever. You know, they might be friends that were in university together, whatever. And that person has a database to argue with their friends about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going, oh, maybe this channel will have it, or maybe that channel. There's the database. This is the solid evidence. You know, it's like things like that. And then the ordinary everyday person who's arguing with their friends or with people saying, look, well, there's this thing. There's this video that proves this, or there's this video that this proves that. You know, and it's all in the database. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, well, you know what actually would function pretty well at that? If we could have our own wiki site that is just completely cut off from any outside meddling, and people do make their own wiki sites on certain issues.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. Something exactly like that. Absolutely.
Right. Well,
everything's a one-stop shop.
So that could actually work. in that format. It's already, there's basically prefab structures for that kind of thing. So I'm not one of those people though. I'm not one of those people that does that. I just happen to know a guy that is a very fanatical glober and panics every time I say the word flat earth literally. He's in my D&D group who does that for a living. He programs special wiki sites. So I'm not going to bring it up with him, if you're wondering.
What I would say... Sorry, Trish.
I was just going to say, I think it's well worth the effort to have your one-stop shop where you go to and it's categorized and it's easy and it's like exactly what Brian's saying. Professional people, you know, they want to see your claims backed up. Where's the evidence? They want to be able to go through the information themselves and draw their own conclusions. And at the moment, all we can do is point them to a video here, a video there. Oh, read this manual, read that. I've done it myself. You know, I've talked to professionals about the flat earth. And they're sort of, at first, it's like, you're crazy. The minute I start producing evidence, all of a sudden, they're open-minded. It's like, oh, wow. And I think it would be fantastic to have a one-stop shop to say, go and look here. It could be a wiki page. It could be that type of format that hyperlinks off to all of your exhibits. But I just think it would be fantastic for moving everyone forward.
I think this could actually work, a wiki system. Because if there were some like people where everybody basically agrees that they are like very wise people in the whole situation, have a good oversight, that they'd have like main keys and that they could basically hand out to interested flat earthers editing keys where people can basically insert their own little piece of text that kind of like similar to Google Docs. You just add something, it's highlighted, what is typed, and then it can be approved by one of the main key holders or edited or removed. And that way, a lot of people can basically work on it and not necessarily ruin it. And the key holders basically only would have to approve, remove, maybe tag for after editing or whatever. That is actually, that could work.
And that's what we were saying, Arwijn. That would be like your role.
That's what I'm saying.
You'd have a panel. No, we've already said that. We already addressed that. That you would have a panel of people who are the experts, because I'm not the expert. You would have a panel of people who are the experts that control, yes, that goes on, no, that doesn't, yes, that does. All I'm saying is I'm basically the collator, the administrator, not, you know, you guys are the experts. You guys determine what goes on and what's taken out. We will address that.
Well, you could have a situation where you'd have documents and anything to do with a document for, let's just say, the Coriolis issue and earth rotation Coriolis, and then you could have a video section for that same thing of earth turn and Coriolis, and a photograph section for earth turn and Coriolis. So people could see three different formats. They see a documents format, like things like the snipers, range cards, stuff like that, and then you'd have video showing what the Coriolis effect is and what should happen, and then photographs, and you know, on the same vein. Then you could have the same thing for like curvature issues and stuff to do with like observational stuff, like diffraction limit and mirages and things like that. But you'd have it categorized, you know, where it's there for everyone to access fast. Because so many times, even last night, this guy I'm having a thing with, he was on to me about something I didn't produce months ago. And I didn't produce it months ago because I couldn't remember where I saw it. And I was able to produce it for him last night, but I couldn't produce it months ago when he was asking me about it because I couldn't remember where I saw it. So I didn't have it. But if I could go and get it straight away, I could have produced it straight away. You know, that kind of way. It literally took months for me to produce the thing to the person.
Yeah.
All because I couldn't access it.
Yeah, and I think I think it happens to a lot of us, Brian. You know, even when I'm explaining it to people, you know, I'm like, oh, no, there is a video on that, but I can never remember where it is, or, you know, where to find it, or...
Yeah. Well, something you said a while ago, Trish, you said that you're not a scientist, but what is a scientist? I mean, the closest thing I know of to a scientist would be quantum eraser. You know, what is a scientist? What actually is a scientist?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, that's go on.
I've got a good degree in environmental science, but I don't go around and say I'm a scientist because I applied that science to designing cities, planning law, environment science, those sorts of things, you know. And that's why it was actually great, because I had access to expert engineers on major infrastructure here in Australia and New Zealand. I've worked on major infrastructure projects. And that's what I'm saying. I speak to a lot of the experts. But I would never say I'm an expert in that field. But where I'm good is that I do have a lot of contacts to a lot of experts who, like you said, Brian, they're not going to come forward because as far as they're concerned, it's, you know, could be career stopping for them. But a lot of the engineers that I speak to understand that when they're building a bridge, when they're building a skyscraper, when they're building a massive mall, even a car park, they do not calculate for curvature. There is not a curvature calculation in any of their engineering calcs. And engineers that say that there is are lying, because I've spoken to some top engineers. You know, and
I agree with that.
And when you go to the planning and environment court, you know, I'm not an expert, but because you spend hours with these experts going over evidence, going over what's been done, to try and get, you know, the best outcome you can, you do tend to pick up a little bit of it. And I know 100% that there is no curvature taken in when they're building a bridge that's, you know, 100 kilometres long. There's not. Same with surveyors. And then people say, oh, but the surveyors have it built into their machine. They just don't know it. That's not true. It's not true at all. You know. So
sorry.
I'm just saying, if we can present it something professionally, these guys will start coming out of the woodwork.
Right. So we got an actual solid plan here, a wiki. So we're going to need a proper host for that. Ranty, you think you have server space? Can I please finish? For fuck's sake. Ranty, could you perhaps spare some room on your server, or you think, wiki-sized content wouldn't it fit?
I just want to throw in, you want to have a conversation more than this to make decisions. Like, you want to have a conversation with Nathan and QE and everybody, the whole panel on the show. You know, before you decide, we're going to go with that, because it has to be something that's open to the whole world to access as well. It's not just kind of exclusive flat Earth, if you understand what I mean. It has to be something where people will go to. You know, I mean, how many people?
It's going to be readable for people, of course. Duh.
Yeah. But I think we're jumping the gun a little bit, Arwijn. I think prior.
No, I don't. I think it's a great idea. Thanks.
Oh no, it is. But I think prior to that, the conversation needs to be had with the experts, you guys, to say, okay, guys, what's the plan? How are we going to meet to discuss the evidence? And, you know, what sort of consensus are we going to have over what gets put into this wiki, or what?
Well, I have a very pragmatic plan for that.
Okay,
the guys
excellent.
or gals that care the most for it will do the work. That's usually how it works.
Yeah.
Because it's all going to be voluntary work, so we're not going to have some kind of structured schedule, okay? This is not a corporation. It's a bunch of people.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyone who wants to do it will do it.
People. Yeah, but there does need to be some structure. I mean, you need to approach people and see whether they'd be willing to put their time in too, you know. Because there's no point in sort of starting something and all of a sudden we don't have the experts that can peer review the documentation prior to submission, you know.
Yeah. It's tough.
And I don't know how much time you guys have,
but it's not something that has to happen by this time tomorrow. You know, it's something that should be started on. The conversations about it should be started now, and there should be some action towards it. Either if it's going to happen or not, there should be some action towards it within 4 weeks, and that should be that's like the blueprints of it. They are being drawn.
No, you need a wiki, and then you go and build it.
Yeah, well, that's what you were saying, but that hasn't been
because
in a wider conversation.
Wiki blueprints were specifically designed for that.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's already there. It's there to basically.
I wouldn't run at it.
I understand what Arwyn's saying. Yeah, that can be our starting point. But what you got to do, Arwyn, is you've got to get all your mates and around talking, having the conversation about, okay, what's the best way of getting this information onto the wiki? What's the best way of peer reviewing it all? And how much time do you guys have?
No, it's not. No, it's a wiki. It's not a propaganda piece. It's a wiki. It's going to be information. It could be used for all kinds of information as an alternative to when people would normally search on Google and find things on wiki. And we could even basically point back at the official wiki and say, like, look, this specific subject, they changed this over the last 3 years. Said this. Can I finish, please? Fuck's sake, woman.
You're missing the point.
No, you're constantly talking.
Yeah, but when you're jumping at wiki and saying, "Oh, that's it, that's over, decision made." It's like you can't just make a decision like that. You need to think about it. You need to give it time. You need to involve other people.
It will have all those cross-references, Arwyn. Of course it will. It'll be severely cross-referenced. There'll be the evidence will point everywhere. But what I'm saying is you need the group of people to make it happen before you just say, let's get a wiki. How much time do these people have? How many pieces are you guys think you can reasonably look at, within a week or within a month? How are you going to organise that?
Well,
the wiki is great. I agree.
I don't know. Arwyn's after leaving. I don't know much about the wiki and the things. I just know if I think about myself as someone on the outside, whether it's something I would look at or not. If it's not easily accessible, if it's in a dark corner of the internet, I'm less likely to go there. You're not going to.
I agree.
It has to be. It doesn't matter if it's. It doesn't matter if it starts out as a YouTube channel where there's a ridiculous amount of videos on it, or something, or a Skype, or something where there's access to. But they get the catalog together first. If people just start cataloging, and once that happens, then we can go further. But I think our one was like wiki, and that's it. And I'm like, wiki. I don't know. How often do I even? I mean, people look at Wikipedia for something here and there. I mean, how many other wikis do you look at? I don't know much about wikis, but it's like exactly.
I was just going to say, wiki's a great source of sort of generic information, but because you don't necessarily have the control over the edits, it's not a reliable source that I would rely on for any sort of evidence that I put forward. But it could be a good database. I'm not sure, but I just think that we're getting ahead of ourselves, like you said, Brian. I think you need to get all the players in a room or on a Skype call to decide, one, is it something that people want to do, and two, what sort of time do these guys have, and who's your panel going to be? Someone like QE, brings a lot of knowledge to the table. So does Ranty. So does Sleeping Warrior, Are these guys, do these guys have time, though, and are they prepared to put their time into something like this?
But really, it doesn't need to be something that takes up loads of time on a small amount of people. It just needs to be something where people can add to a cataloging system. So if you had like 8 categories just to start off with, and there was 10 videos in 8 categories per category, that'd be just a start. It doesn't have to all happen tomorrow, but it could be something within a year and a half. There could be 1,000 videos or 1,000 pieces of information in all those categories, and that's going to be just builds. Yeah. I mean, if you were putting a case together, you won't have it together in 24 hours. It could take a year.
No. It can take 2 years. It can take 2 years. And even presenting evidence, it's not done in 5 minutes. It can take months.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Yeah, but I think personally, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but personally I think it would be a fantastic tool.
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be very good to have. I think that it's something where people could get the information they needed there and then would be very, very useful. especially as time goes on and people are debating people and that, well, I want to go here and get this quote from here, from this physicist, or find that video that someone made 2 years ago on this subject. It's all there to hand. And you won't have to go looking through, trying to find it and download it on your computer and all this other nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. What do you think, Ranty?
Well, there already is a Flat Earth wiki, in case you didn't know about that.
See, I never knew about that.
But the first line says it all. The first line says it all. It says, the Flat Earth model is an archaic conception of Earth's shape.
Yeah.
It's kind of derogatory,
Yeah, it
is. Shout out to Lumberjack in the chat. $19.99 for Bobby's Ace at Globebusters. Thank you, Lumberjack. But yeah, so the problem with Wiki is that you can actually get people just changing stuff. Yeah.
Aside from Wiki though, Ranty, what do you think about a centralised sort of database that's got cross-referenced, categorised? What do you think about that sort of thing?
Well, there's plenty of individuals out there with their own sites. Paul on the Plane, for instance, has his own website, so you can look it up. paulontheplane.com, I think it is. There's other people that have websites. Nathan Oakley has a website. There's loads of flat earthers that have websites of their own, but people tend to populate YouTube and not really frequent those places where they've got forums and stuff like that, where people can put their own content on, links, all this kind of stuff, and it's completely just handled by the person that runs the site. So it's not like it can get interfered with or anything, but people just don't tend to use it. I know Nathan plugs his every day, but his footfall isn't great. He's talking just a few dozen each day. You need to be getting thousands visiting your site each day.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can't really speak for Trish, but I don't think that's kind of where we're talking about. A website is not really the direction I was talking about going. I was talking about going towards like a YouTube section that had everything in it. Because YouTube, everybody is on. Everyone and anyone is likely to and all someone has to do is just subscribe to it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You're fighting though. You're fighting against the opposition, and the opposition have clearly said that flat Earth is a target. And if you think you're going to get any kind of fairness from YouTube, you're sadly mistaken there. They're not going to offer us anything.
Yeah, but it's not so much get anything out of them, just to use the platform.
Yeah,
because the platform
never going to happen.
If you have go on, Trish.
Sorry, I think it's more, Ranty, what we're saying. It's like you guys still continue with your platform, but when you get someone come on your show that talks to you about, the sunrise or the sunset or something, and they start going off on a tangent, you can go to this place, this one-stop shop, wherever it's held, and you can easily access the information to refute what they're saying. To say, well, no, actually, there's been 15 reports on that, or there's been this evidence that's been found. It's about accessibility of the information, I think, more than the platform itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be something that's going to become a big, huge YouTube channel, but it's just going to be a place where you can go and get what you're looking for there and then, and go, there it is, and share it, whether it be through Skype, in a debate, to somebody. It's just a place that people can go to and access catalogued information.
Well, there's Discord, for instance. I mean, I know Karen B hosts a Discord channel or site. I don't use Discord, so I don't really know what you would call it. But essentially, she does that, and I think she's opened a second one up too. And it has quite a lot of members. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, but how many? I didn't even know what Discord was until I had to use it. You know what I mean? Until I had to use it to get onto Nathan's show, I didn't know what it was.
I think to be fair too, I never knew what Discord was either, and it's not something that's this part of the world that we really know about. It's only if you're into sort of flat Earth type thing that you hear this Discord, but it's not something that we readily use. And frankly, a lot of people are quite reluctant to go on Discord because, potentially you could open yourself up to be compromised.
It's going to be a bit of a toxic place as well,
Yeah, it's sort of an echo chamber more than anything else, I think.
Well, I think Sport originally, I think was for gamers or something like that, to speak with each other over online or something like that. But it's kind of a dark corner of the internet. Whereas YouTube, although it's against us, it's not a dark corner of the internet.
Well,
YouTube, if you know what I mean.
If you search Flat Earth on YouTube, you're going to get page and page and page of anti-Flat Earth videos before you come to anything remotely positive towards Flat Earth. And on the other side of the coin, if you're a new YouTuber starting out, and let's suppose you had the option to go on either side of the coin, right? So let's suppose you were undecided and you wanted to be to make a channel. If you went Flat Earth, your channel growth would be so slow. You would reach 500 subscribers in probably a year. But if you wanted to be anti-Flat Earth, you could get to 5,000 subscribers in just a couple of months. Now, that's all down to the promotion that those guys get over the suppression that we get.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I can't speak for Trish, but I think we're along the same lines where it doesn't matter if there's only 2 subscribers. What matters is the database that can be accessed by the people who are Flat Earth.
Well, for instance, let me just try one last thing. Mark Sargent, for instance. So if you go to his channel, he has a section that says liked on his front page. So the front page, you go to his channel, and one of the first boxes that are there are liked videos, and they're all the liked videos that he's done over his entire time, and obviously the newest ones are there. So if you click on them, you can watch the whole playlist. So they are there. Mark Sargent goes around, he finds the content, he likes the video, it gets put into his liked list, and then obviously people can find that. And I think if you were ever going to try and do something similar, I think I've set it up on mine too for liked videos too. I think I have. I don't know if it comes up. I've not checked. But maybe if going forward, if we all did that, every content creator on YouTube did a liked videos. Even people that just watch the when but have a channel could still set a liked section up. And then it would, whenever anyone goes to their channel, they will see the liked videos, and it can promote it from within that way.
Well, yeah, and even going further than that, Ranty, that's what we're sort of saying. Go further than that and actually categorise them nicely. So instead of just a playlist of liked videos, categorise them in sort of, in categories, so that if someone's looking to refute a claim that we're on a spinning ball because we've proved it because of the sunset or the sunrise, that they can easily go, boom, here it is in this category, the sun, or however you decide to sort of categorise it. But, going onto someone's channel and looking through their liked videos sometimes is cumbersome, and, they might not even have the video that you want in terms of your subject matter that you're talking about.
Yeah, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to create something that isn't around for flat earthers. We've got to work within the rules that we have and the confines that we have, and the confines that we have is that we're being suppressed. So the only way we can fight back is, and Mark Sargent I think does an excellent job. If I just push this over here so everyone can see, and this is Mark Sargent's page, when you go to his channel, created playlist. In his playlist, you have liked videos. It's right under, in the middle of his page.
Yeah.
So, and it goes view the full playlist. So you can click that, and obviously when it decides to come up, it brings up all the videos from the last video that he liked is number 1 all the way down, and it's all flat Earth stuff. So we could all do this, and this is working within their.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is working within their own schematic sort of thing. And then, that's the only way we can do it, because we ain't getting any help from YouTube. So we can forget that idea.
No, and you're exactly right, Randy, but what I'm saying is you could make it even easier than that if you guys all started to create these playlists, but put it into a category. Because if I said to you, okay, go on Mark Sargent's channel, look at his liked videos, I want to see where the flight manual is that says we're not on a spinning ball. You know, you're going to have to cipher through information, whereas if you categorise it neatly, then you can just go, yep, here it is, boom. It's fair, it's categorised, it's easy access. Yeah. You know, it's all about the access, the ease of the access, as opposed to what platform you have it on. I don't think the platform matters too much. I think what matters is that you guys know where to access it, and it's easily accessible in categories, you know?
I agree. I think if I went to Mark Sargent's channel and I saw his liked videos, things, now that could be, and one of his liked videos could be, I'm not being smart, but it could be like two dogs playing with a ball. You know what I mean? I don't know what's in there. I wouldn't have even really known that if it was all flat out or not. Whereas if you had like just something like a flat out database, just the FE database, where you could just access this when you needed it to show somebody or to say, look, have a look at this. Yeah. And you're showing someone a whole database of categorized information that goes against the opposition, basically.
Yeah, the problem is we're too small right now as a community. We are too small. There isn't that many content creators, you know, that are sort of well known on YouTube at all. You know, a lot of them are very small, and they stop doing the content after realizing that they're not getting anywhere. What we can do as a community, though, is if we all created liked playlists. What tends to happen if Mark Sargent likes a video of mine, generally what will happen is I'll get a subscriber boost the next couple of days, because people watch his liked videos, and then if they like the content they've seen, they subscribe to the channel. So it's a way of cross-pollinating the audiences, firstly, as well as them seeing new people. And if we could all do this, Globebusters, Jerinism, Karen B, myself, we all create liked playlists, right? And then everybody who's subscribed to me, let's say, can see all the videos that I've liked in a playlist, see another YouTuber that they've never come across before, and subscribe to them. And this way we can sort of like under the radar be pushing Flat Earth content and creators to our audience, so we're all cross-pollinating, we're all growing, we're hopefully all going to find great content, and obviously, you know, encourage more people to put the effort in and the time in to do this stuff, because it does take a lot of time and effort to do this.
I actually really agree with that, Ranty. I get where you're coming from now, and I think that could be the first sort of step to what myself and Brian are talking about. That's sort of the first step. Okay, let's get people engaging. Let's get people actually cross-pollinating, like you said, so that people can discover these YouTubers that probably they wouldn't have otherwise discovered. And then once we've got all these channels and you guys with all of these liked videos and all these things, maybe it's that stage where you could do quite a nice catalogue of all these videos and all the evidence that's there that everyone's shared. Maybe what you're talking about, sort of the first step of getting an information type database that's easily accessible. For now, it's just about growing people's awareness, I think, is where you're coming from more, Ranty.
I have on my channel, I have one of my on my YouTube channel, I have one of my categories is just Flat Earth, and I have 340 or something videos in there, and it's not categorized. So if I'm looking for something, even within my own set of videos, it's not categorized, but I have some idea where something is from, how long ago I would have saved it or whatever, but it's not categorized and it's not saved, it's not on a terabyte, you know, it's not downloaded, like, you know, things like that, where it doesn't have to be a ridiculous amount of stuff, but you just need solid evidence for each category. You know, and even if people just share, like there's loads of people out there that surely have a category on their YouTube channel, just like I have. And if everybody could just share all them up to the same place, do you know, kind of way? Because there's going to be people out there who could have, they might have 100 of the videos I have, but they don't have the other 240, and vice versa. You know, that kind of way. And obviously, you might end up with thousands of videos or thousands of pieces of information, but that's what the whole categorizing thing is about. And obviously, it wouldn't be something I'd expect just one person to do. you know, to categorize it, because it could be any amount of thousands of videos, but it's just, I understand exactly what you mean, Trish. Something that's accessible, so you can go there's the thing right there, page 4, fourth paragraph, you know, that kind of thing. So you're not kind of going, I'll have a look there and see if I can find it, and you come back 20 minutes later, I can't find that thing. You know, that's not, as I said, it took me months to have a thing to present to someone. Only last.
Wow, thanks again, Lumberjack, for the super chat. Thanks, Ranty. Gotta take the kiddie swimming. Love you all. Thank you very much again for smashing the super chat. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Bigger conversation as well, though. Maybe if Ranty speaks about it with the lads and everybody on the Flat Earth debates and that. Like, I'm on Flat Earth debates too, but not like as much as Ranty. Ranty's been in a Flat Earth. Him and Sleeping Warrior and Nathan are Flat Earth debates. You know, in a kind of way.
But the thing is, the Flat Earth debates is just a very small corner of the entire Flat Earth community. I mean, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of content creators out there. Okay, people do formats like this, but a lot of people do completely different formats entirely. It's just that we don't often cross-pollinate with each other. So going forward,
it's about bringing,
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going
to together.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little group on Skype. So I'm going to add a few people and see if we can get this liked videos playlist going. If we can do that, it might be a start to introducing the audiences to new people with, you know, a subtle hint that you know, they can look at these liked videos, and then, you know, maybe we can start cross-pollinating, growing, finding the better content, introducing new people. Because there's a, what was he called? Oh dear me, the guy that did refraction and diffraction on my channel, I can't remember his name, but at the time,
Life is Short, is it?
Life is Short, yeah. He had like 6 subscribers at the time. I kid you not, he had 6 subscribers, and I mirrored his video and I put it on X. I think I called it excellent, superb, brilliant. The next thing, he was on a couple more channels. He had a couple of thousand subscribers dead quick because his content deserved that. But his content would have sat and just disappeared. Nobody would have took notice of it, you know. And people are there to be found if you can find them, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, Randy, and I totally agree with that. And I think also it's not necessarily just scouring through Flat Earth as well. But I totally agree. I think
it was for maybe if Randy, if you had a conversation with Nathan and Anthony and Quantum Eraser and obviously Arwijn and everyone that's on the panel there normally, and just kind of said, like, I wouldn't mind bringing it up with them, but they know you a lot more than they know me. Just going to say, like, what do you think about this as an idea, and see, like, basically a think tank. A think tank is what we're talking about here. A think tank. You have to start a think tank first. You know, and that's where you start with. See what they think about it. Like, what's the most accessible, least hassle database that everyone could use. You know, anyway, they could get to.
Well,
you know,
just so you know, guys, I'm going to round up in 5 minutes. So if there's anything you guys want to clarify before I hit the dial, you better say it now.
No, I'm okay. Thanks for having me on.
I'm cool. Thanks heaps for having me on, Ranty. Thanks a lot. And you guys are doing an awesome job. I just, I'm just real happy to support you guys, and I think the conversations are getting better and better, and it's definitely not going to go away.
I agree.
Indeed. It looks like I'm going to be having George Netanyahu back on Sunday, so this should be interesting. We're going to get digging down into this Coriolis nightmare that the globe is having. I know I suspect the answers they're going to be coming up with, but we'll see.
That'll be good.
I don't see any curved plane paths. Let's put it that way. And if you don't see it, then it ain't happening, is it?
No.
I brought a citation up today. I'm trying to think who.
I mean, that in itself, this argument, Ranty, is just being, we look at it from a logical point of view, and it's just ludicrous. They argue one way for one thing and then another way for another thing, but in arguing these sort of cross arguments, they're basically refuting what they've said in the first sentence. It's just such a logical thing to the normal person to see, and yet you're having to convince these ballers time and time again.
Yeah. The argument that I put forward to George about the London to Lagos flight, what happened was that he critiqued it to the end, and at the end it all worked out absolutely perfect, as long as the plane flew in a direct straight line and didn't have to deviate or go or deflect off in a curve. Basically what happened, the London to Lagos flight, the one I brought up there, it's like he literally critiqued it so much that he actually disproved himself with it. I had a more average, and he critiqued it to the end, where it was absolutely, he disproved himself. He left no room for any Coriolis to be involved at all, because if there's a Coriolis, the plane has to fly further, and if there was really a Coriolis, with a plane flying from London to Lagos, which is north straight south, would have to head off over Amsterdam to get to Lagos.
Exactly.
This is the best citation ever, right? So, Omni Calculator. So this guy that's done this Omni Calculator is called Dominic Zernier, PhD candidate. I was recommended that you can use this to check out the Coriolis. You can put some details in and it'll tell you how much Coriolis there is. Well, I'm just going to read this out. Just bear with me. So, Coriolis effect and airplanes. Does Coriolis effect and airplanes have something in common? Of course they have. Right, let's say an airplane takes off from London and travels to North America, etc., etc., etc. But what it says here is that you can imagine that the pilots need to plan a proper flight path in advance and fly not to the west, but to the southwest to reduce the effect of the Coriolis force. Right?
Yeah.
You can imagine the pilot needs to plan a proper flight in advance and fly not to the west, but to the southwest to reduce the effect of the Coriolis force.
Contradicts everything they say.
What that's saying that essentially the Earth is turning underneath the plane.
Yeah.
Exactly. But they won't say that. They'll say that the atmosphere and the Earth are all turning at the same time. And, they contradict their argument depending on what you're talking about. Guns, drones, aircraft. It's all contradiction, though, at the end of the day. Because the reality is, I think it's not there. I think we can all agree it's not there.
Well, if you ask to see an actual physical demonstration of the Coriolis effect, because they keep calling it a force. Well, there's not a force; it's an effect that would have. It's not a force; it's an effect. If you want to see a physical demonstration of the Coriolis effect involving the turning of the actual Earth we stand on, then it can't be shown to you. There's only two places to see that. Supposedly, is on the top of a sniper's bullet, which seems to continually be disproven. And space videos. So where do you see it? That you could you can't see it on the top of a sniper's bullet. Even if it was there, you couldn't see it because how can you video that? You can't. And then there's space videos. So we all know the story with that. So it is.
Yeah.
I just don't see any way out of it for them. I just don't see any way out of it. Even stuff I've looked at myself. I'm not going to say about it now, but I'll be bringing it onto Ranty's as a presentation. It's just it completely disproves the whole rotation thing. But it's like, in the end of the day, it's like if someone really, really wants to believe in it, they'll fight tooth and nail to the end and won't want to see it, regardless of what they've done, what their background is. It doesn't matter whether someone is a professional, is a surveyor, an engineer, or anything. If that person does not want to accept that things are not what they were told they were, they'll twist and turn every way they can to try and go against it, that kind of way.
Okay, well, I'm going to round up, peeps. So, I'll just do my round up. Thanks for stopping by, Trish. And Brian, you were the last two. The rest all had to leave. No worries. Right, well, guys, thanks very much. I've got some things to sort out, as you can see behind. I've got these two lovely ladies waiting all evening. I have things to do. I might come back on Sunday. I think Sunday will be the day when George wants to come back and talk about the Coriolis effect. So I will see you all then. And yes, thank you all the people that smashed the super chat tonight. Lumberjack, Sam Hain, and everybody else. I'm sorry if I can't remember you immediately. Let me see if I can get them up. Might take a second or two. Let's have a quick look. I should have prepared for this, shouldn't I, really? But I'm not as organised as Nathan. So anyway, going forward, I'm going to put a few blocks on the words that I don't like, and some of these words are going to include things like liar, and liars, and lying, frauds, anything like that, anything that that's like a real derogatory name, that horrible word that you just can't defend against. It's just all it's designed for is to spread distrust in somebody, and I really hate that word. I'd like to think that as far as I know, people aren't lying. I don't lie. I don't. There's no need for that, and I don't like people saying that other people lie. I just don't like the word, so I'm going to ban that. There's no need for it. Anyway, so let's do a few shout outs. So today we've had Sam Hain, Cleary, Nathan Oakley, Lumberjack, Rampage Vantage, Second Best Bob, Cleary, Del West Watson, and I think I've said Lumberjack. Yes, so yeah, that's all been the super chatters today. So thank you very much. And as for me, that'll do for now. And I'll see you all. I do need to sort my focus out, don't I? And I'll see you all in the next one.